Welcome into the show. This is Jono.
And this is Micah, and you're listening to Medium Retro.
Micah, Thomas, our second attempt at recording this show. We're back, baby. Let's do it.
We're back on the second track. We got it this time. No hope for the other team. Here we are, winners.
Yes, we had some technical difficulties the first time, as is the regular when we're doing these remote recordings.
Yeah. Technical difficulties.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a show over the internet if we didn't have some issues up front.
Hell no, and that's just, this is a post-2020 episode. That just goes to show you exactly what 2020 has been like. One issue after another, nonstop, until you want to scream.
Yeah. Yeah, but you are right. This is the first show in 2021.
Isn't that weird?
It feels okay. I don't mind.
Yeah, no, it's like, okay, I'm stoked for it, obviously. 2020 is over. We're in 2021 now. I'm projecting into the future because we're recording this right at the tail end of 2020. But yeah, just let the record show that 2020 dug its claws into the very last. And here we are on the other side, alive, hopefully.
Well, I mean, technically, it is too early to say that we're alive in 2020. I mean,
you
something might happen tomorrow,
much.
Micah. We don't know.
True.
Yes, but it is great to hypothetically, or not hypothetically, but in your world out there, be in 2021. It's going to be a hell of a year. We know it. So thanks for listening in. This is Medium Retro. And this is your friendly reminder to check out our Patreon by going to MediumRetro.com or searching us on Patreon.com. We know you like your weekly dose of retro gaming goodness over here. And then leaving us your reviews on your favorite podcasting app is always very, very helpful as well.
Yes, indeed. As well as, be sure to add us on Twitch and Twitter at Medium Retro. Go follow us on Instagram, Medium Retro Podcast. And if you like the YouTubes, we're on there now. So tube us over there on YouTube. Leave some comments, likes. Interact. It'll be a fun time.
Yeah, I need to be better at being timely with YouTube. I try to get everything out on like the 6 a.m. on Wednesday, but YouTube's been a little delayed. And then I was out of town last week, and so we didn't have last week's on YouTube.
Okay. The fans will, find us elsewhere. But that's the thing, in my mind, YouTube is the slackeriest of all the platforms. So, I only go there to listen to chill hip-hop beats to study to and relax. So, relax to roll it on YouTube. It makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. And I just mentioned that I was out of town last week. That's because I went to Mexico, Micah. We were telling this story the first time around when we had the technical issues. And that's why we're recording remote. I'm self-quarantining because Mexico was very different worldly when it came to people wearing masks and everything. It honestly almost felt good in a way because it was like, this is what normal times felt like, but you were also like, oh boy, I mean, we are in the middle of a pandemic and it kind of makes you nervous when it didn't seem quite as serious down there, but
damn.
Yeah, but I'm self-quarantining. I also am feeling a little slow, Micah, because I got a little tummy bug on my very last night there.
Yeah, and, I was saying it sounds like you had a blast in more ways than one.
Yes.
While you're in Mexico.
It was quite the blast.
Hell yeah.
Micah. It was a blast and a half from both ends, and no regrets. It was worth it. I had such a good trip.
Hell yeah.
Consolation prize for not being able to see my family this year,
Yeah, that's the sad thing. You said your brother tested positive for COVID right before?
Yeah.
Tragic.
On Thursday, we were supposed to leave on Saturday, and so I booked my flight to Mexico on Friday.
Man.
Very, very last second, everything.
Dude, it's a weird time. But, I think you said this before, but you quarantine before, you quarantine after your trip. You won't be passing it on. You won't be a link in that chain. However, I'm constantly worried that I'm going to end up being the link in a chain because I'm working at a restaurant. And same thing, we get a lot of travelers, a lot of visitors. So, and now Colorado is ground zero in America for the COVID-19 plus, as I like to call it. The expansion pack.
Well, I mean, we have Medium Retro Special, so it could be COVID-19 Special.
That works. COVID-19S. Ooh.
Yeah. Ooh, yeah.
But yeah.
What, yeah.
That's what this quarantine, this is what this, remote recording is all about. Taking it safe, being chill, and, going with the flow, having a good
Yeah.
time,
The show must go on, whether we're in person or remote. And this week we're bringing you a hot episode.
Hell
You
yeah.
know we like things hot here at Medium Retro. We're talking Mega Man 3, our first Mega Man that we've ever recorded.
The
Very
first Mega
exciting.
Man I've ever played.
Yes, and I am very curious to get your opinions on it, hear your feedback. Yeah, I think that's what I'm most excited about, Micah, is just to talk through this game with somebody who's never played Mega Man before.
Hell yeah.
It blows my mind, to be honest.
No, I say I've never played. I have played a couple minutes here and there. There have been a couple times when I've played Mega Man. I've never sat down and played through a Mega Man game, is what I'm trying to say here. So, yeah, first time. Interesting. Definitely feel like a little bit more of a badass on the other end, so.
Okay.
Hell yeah.
That's good. It's a good feeling. Now, before we get into that, are you drinking anything tonight?
No, I actually did pull a beer out of my fridge for such an occasion as this. I am talking Ratio's Sparks Fly, which is a juicy IPA. It's one of their limited release series. I've got a couple of friends who work over at Ratio, so they were Mr. Hunter specifically was kind enough to grace me with this can of beer. So I'm looking forward to popping it and letting you know what I think on the podcast.
Yeah, that's great.
What do you?
Ratio's? I love Ratio. It's a great spot.
Yeah, I mean, back in the day when we used to go over and jam down in that area, we, post Ratio beers was a constant thing for us. So, before the days of COVID, we used to crowd those tables.
Yeah, absolutely. COVID in a way kind of ruined the band too. I mean, we were kind of phasing out a little bit, I would say, but then COVID really just crushed it. I mean,
yeah,
it was game over.
It really took the wind out of our sails, But also, COVID has this really bad thing where it makes you sit and think about what you want to do, And so I think it ruined the band, but also I think all of us realized, or some of us realized, or maybe only I realized that I've just got other things I need to do right now anyway. So, bands are fun, but school was, took precedence. So
for sure, I think we'll jam again someday, but I don't think we're like a band,
Yeah,
the Stab Rats, the Peyote Kid, and the Peyote. What was that one? Cactus Kid, and the Peyote Kings.
Yeah, Cactus Kid and the Peyote Kings, I think is what we were going on. So that'd be a solid name, man. We got to still do something with that, even if it's just to create a fake band in a digital world.
Maybe it'll be the Medium Retro band. We'll get everybody together to play cover songs of video games.
Sick.
So I'm not drinking because I've been feeling a little under the weather. So I am drinking it. Well, I guess I'm drinking something non-alcoholic. And I was just about to go to the store, and I was like, never mind. I'm making tea.
Hey, respect.
So I made some like ginger spice tea with a couple drops of CBD in there.
Ooh.
And then I put some fresh slices of ginger to get that extra zang.
Nice.
Extra zang in there. So cheers, sir.
Cheers. I'm gonna pop this bad boy. Now I'm gonna take this glass, and I'm gonna pour this lovely, fine gentleman of an IPA, or gentlewoman, gentle human, of an IPA into this glass.
I like that, and it's different when we record remote because I'm watching you slowly, almost sensually, pouring that Ratio beverage into your glass over there.
There was a little bit of sexuality in that pour.
Yeah, ladies, look out. We better put this on YouTube, man.
Yeah, they got to see how well we can pour a beer when it's hovering over our computers when you don't want to spill.
Oh, yeah.
Well, hey, anyway,
cheers.
Digital cheers to you, Jono. Jink. And I put that up to my camera to make it official. Now, I just got to say, that is a juicy IPA.
Ooh. You looked happy, and you're not even a huge IPA fan, but I could see the joy on your face.
Quite often I avoid the IPAs, but this Sparks Fly is juicy. It's light on the bitter, and you get a lot of that tropical sort of hop flavor too. That just comes through, and it's surprisingly easy to drink, which is not always the case with IPAs, and that's what I like in an IPA. That's what I look for. Cheers to Ratio Sparks Fly because I like it.
Yeah, all right. I'm gonna have to check that one out because I love IPAs.
Yum,
cool, man.
yum.
Well, before we get into the one and only Mega Man 3, which we'll get into why we chose Mega Man 3, might seem a little random. But let's do our opening segment. Today it's called Inside the Nerd Studio. Trying to be a little copy of Inside the Actor Studio. And this is one where we both just bring up a game that if we look at our life, and we look at our life in both gaming and just in general, and the things we enjoy in terms of pop culture and entertainment, everything, games that have kind of defined us. You know, we each pick one, and as you know, we go on, you'll kind of get, I guess we'll build out our own gaming catalog of the games that have been the most impactful on defining us as people. And so, yeah, I've never done that before. I thought this would be fun. So would you like to go first or second, my man?
I'll let you go first. Mine's going to blow your mind.
Ooh, my mind's already blown just knowing that you're going to blow my mind.
Hell
yeah. It's pre-blown.
Hell yeah.
Okay, so we've already talked about this game on the show at length. It was episode number 9, and it is Link to the Past.
Ooh.
I believe it was your number 2 game of the year as well, of 2020.
Indeed.
And I had to bring up Link to the Past, and we've talked about it so much, so I won't go into too many details. But the more I thought about it, this was an interesting segment because the more you think about it, you kind of understand why it helped like influence you and why it's been so meaningful to you. And I think this game really has led me down the path of like adventure games and puzzle games, things that I really enjoy in terms of my gaming tastes. I think it really just kind of those gaming habits have stuck with me my whole life just because this was like my favorite game by far when I was a child. And then also with music, it's probably the soundtrack that I remember more than any other soundtrack from my childhood.
Yeah.
Probably from like super young to like teenage years. Just such an impactful soundtrack. And I jokingly put in here that maybe that's why I don't care about lyrics in songs. It's more about how the music makes me feel because this music was just so impactful. Even to my parents, they still know this soundtrack. I think I mentioned that on our Link to the Past episode back in the day. So that was my game inside the Nerd Studio.
All right. So my game's going to blow your mind twice over now because it's Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, which sits in the same Zelda place that your Link to the Past sits for you. So, but yeah, you know, if you want to talk games that define me as a person, Ocarina of Time is probably number 1. It sits probably in the top 3 for sure. Maybe slot number 2 on my favorite video games of all time. But you know, just a couple things that I really related to as a kid. Link's a child who turns into an adult. He's suddenly given all these amounts of tremendous responsibility. He has to stand up and explore an unknown world while leaving behind a world that he never truly belonged to, which was just all these themes and stuff that I really got behind as a kid. It's a sad story. Music is the most important thing. It's the key to this whole entire game, which is always really important to me because music was very important to me as a child as well. So yeah, I you know, it's one of those games that's aware of the sad little moments in life and knows how to draw those feelings out in video game form. Tells one of the best stories. It's probably still one of my most favorite games, and that's where I'll leave it because I do believe we're going to be talking about this game in the very near future. So,
yes, sir. You know, maybe that's why we both picked a Zelda game for our first Inside the Nerd Studio opening segment here because we are both balls deep in Ocarina of Time right now.
Hell yeah.
Absolutely, man. Well, that's a fun one. I like this one. I'm curious to see over time as, you know, every 15 to 20 shows we kind of repeat segments. I'm kind of curious after 15 years of doing the show what games have defined us.
There are quite a few, but this is definitely, for me, probably the game that has defined me the most.
Yeah, me too. Link to the Past is definitely what I would say is the most influential, self-defining game that I've played.
Well, cool. Hell yeah.
Hell to the yes, sir.
Indeed.
I am freaking excited. All right, man. So yeah, it is time to get into the meat and potatoes, sir.
The meats and pots. Can't not say that.
The meats and the pots. So for the background on this show, I am the one who chose Mega Man 3. I've always been a huge Mega Man fan, even though I think Mega Man 2 is the only one I've ever beaten. And to be honest, I don't know if I've actually fully beaten it. I know I've gotten damn close. And I know I got super close in Mega Man 9 in college when they made a true to Nintendo style Mega Man game that was like a true sequel to Mega Man 8.
Yeah.
But, you know, 20 years, 30 years after it was made, the 8th was made. But I've always wanted to play Mega Man 3, and I've played it before. I just never beaten the game or never really even gotten to Wily's Castle or super far into the game before. But a lot of people who are true hardcore Mega Man fans say that Mega Man 3 is the best one for various reasons. Some people say it's got the best songs. Some people say it has the most unique levels, the most unique bosses, things like that. So yeah, I always wanted to play it. and we finally did, and I am super stoked to talk about it.
It was a super cool time.
Yeah, man. So let's get into some game facts, my man.
Heck yeah. So this was developed by Capcom, published by Capcom in Japan and North America, but in Europe it was actually published by Nintendo. Interesting fact. Director is Masayoshi Kurikawa. He quit before the game was finished because of disagreements with Keiji Inafune. He left Inafune to take on directorial responsibilities, which he did. This was produced by Tokuro Fujiwara, designed by Masayoshi Kurosawa, Keiji Inafune. He's really known as a creator of Mega Man. Crazy, amazing career. Worked on almost every Mega Man Street Fighter game. He's also worked on various Resident Evil games as well. But yeah, legendary figure in the gaming industry. I never really have had a lot of experience with a lot of his games, but I've been slowly trying to take the time to play through some of them. So I'm looking forward to getting a little bit more cozy up to his, classics. But then also the other designer, Yoshishiro Takanaka, and then also programmer Tadashi Kuwana, artist Keiichi Inafune, Yasuaki Kishimoto, Akami Iwasaki, Miki Kichima.
Crushing it, man.
And thanks, dude. And then it was composed by Yasuki Fujita. He goes by the artist name Bun Bun.
That's how most people know him, as Bun Bun.
Yeah, Bun Bun. He apparently did most of the soundtrack, other than a few songs, such as Gemini and Needleman. He has a long career with Capcom. He's one of those dudes, Mr. Bun Bun. And then also the other composer, Hirumi Fujita. She only worked on 3 or so of the tracks for the game. She also has a long career with Capcom. Recently helped with the Streets of Rage 4 soundtrack. Can't wait to play that game. And there's no relation between her and Bun Bun, even though they share the same last name.
Yep. Kind of crazy that the 2 composers of this game both had the same last name, but I don't know. Maybe that's a lot more common in Japan. The family name. So I don't know.
Well, solid. The series, of course, is the Mega Man series. There's about a bajillion of them nowadays, including spin-offs. It's been on a lot of different platforms, such as... but Mega Man 3 specifically was on the NES Famicom, also on the PlayChoice 10, which I have no experience with. There's a port to the PlayStation. There's also a mobile phone port version, and this was also released on Microsoft Windows, interestingly enough. Yeah, and I'm sure it's on other digital platforms as well. It was originally released September 28th, 1990.
Yeah, pretty wild stuff. A whole 30 freaking years ago. I mean, let me take that back because it's 2021 now. So 31 years ago.
Damn it.
Yeah, wild stuff, man. Wild stuff. Well, cool.
Indeed.
So let's get into some of the fun facts then with this wonderful game. Capcom actually had a house band called Alf Lilla. The name derives from the katakana, which is one of their it's one of the ways they write over there. I didn't say that very well at all, but Japanese is a very intense language, and they have like a whole subset of characters called katakana. And it spells 1001 Nights. And Bun Bun, our primary composer for this soundtrack, was actually the keyboardist of that internal band.
Nice.
Yeah. Inafune, he considers Mega Man 3 to be one of his least favorite games. And remember, Inafune is primarily known for the Mega Man series. He's like legendary figure. And yeah, it's kind of crazy reading that he thought this was one of his least favorite Mega Man games. And that's not because of the game itself. He did think it was a little bit rushed. They had to get it released, and they had a lot of internal strife. That's why the director ended up leaving because of disagreements. And so it wasn't that he didn't like the game. It was his least favorite experience making the game. And so that's kind of tied to the game itself, when he thinks about it. Kind of wild.
I can understand that.
And then Akira Kitamura is actually the original designer of Mega Man, not Keiji Inafune, which most people don't realize. Most people think that Keiji is the one who actually originally created Mega Man. When Inafune joined the project, Mega Man was actually already designed, but he wasn't finalized. And so then Inafune kind of did the second 50% of the design, but he was not the one who like put him down on paper for the very first time. So pretty interesting facts there.
Yeah, interesting. I actually didn't know that. But also, it's funny to see how Mega Man had changed a little bit, in from the first couple games going to the SNES and what his characters become. It's like the same evolution you see with Mario and Sonic and any other video game character that's lasted this long. Yeah. So I always find that stuff to be super interesting. But yeah, shall we hit the plot up now, my good sir?
I think we should, Micah. I think that sounds wonderful.
Hell yeah. So you've provided for us the plot, which was in the original manual. I read through this and find it to be incredibly funny.
Yeah,
so
well, you did that during Gradius. You pulled up the manual. It was just so good that maybe we should do that more often,
Dude, hell yeah. Blast from the past. So, straight from the American manual. Calling Mega Man, come in please. Mega Man, we need you. We're down to the wire on our peacekeeping project. We've got to get these last energy crystals or we can't finish it. Dr. Wily is here now, too. ... Yes, ... He's finally found his sanity. We know where the crystals are! ! They are in the mining world, but we can't get to them. The robots are running amok, and they're destroying everything. You've got to get there, Mega Man, and get those crystals. You'll have to face some pretty mean metal. Expect the worst. Is Rush there with you? Give him a bolt to chew on, and tell him it's from us. What's that? We must be getting static. Sounds like you said, woof. Mega Man, get those mining worlds, pronto! Or get to those mining worlds pronto. Grab the crystals and stop whoever's in charge. He's one lunatic guy. This is Dr. Light, over and out. That's the story from the original manual for you folks.
Well done, sir.
Read dramatically by me, Micah Thomas. You can thank me later. But yeah, in this game, you play as Mega Man. You're a robot built by Dr. Light, and you have your canine robot sidekick, Rush, whose powers I absolutely loved. Essentially, Dr. Wily, who's been the enemy in the first couple of games, supposedly found the right way or found his sanity, found the light, whatever you want to say here. And he decides to help Dr. Light build Gamma, a massive peacekeeping robot. He turns on you, though, in the end, and you must defeat him in the newly built Gamma.
And there it is, man. That's what we're getting into with Mega Man 3.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Now, did you gather all of that from your playthrough?
No, not really.
No, me either. I mean, I realized at the end, Dr. Wily, you know you're not going to trust Dr. Wily, but I didn't even know you were working with him. To be honest, maybe I just wasn't paying a lot of attention to the cutscenes, because this game's all about the gameplay. It's not about the story.
Yeah, I sort of missed the bit about Dr. Wily. I thought he was just your enemy the whole time.
Yeah, I mean...
Turns out he was, though.
Yeah, he was. He was indeed. But cool. I do think hearing that, especially when it's so well read by the one and only Micah Thomas, it does give it a little context. I kind of like that. That's why manuals were great.
Mm-hmm. Totally. It gives you the setting.
Cool, man. Well, let's get into the gameplay. Now, if you've played a Mega Man, then you pretty much know the drill already. And if you're listening to a retro games podcast out there, you probably know Mega Man. But we'll go through some of the basics. And there's a couple differences between every Mega Man game, and so shed light on that. So it's a side-scrolling action platformer, of course. And the main mechanic of the game, I would say, other than it being a side-scrolling platformer, is that you defeat these bosses. And when you defeat the boss, you acquire their power. And every boss is weak to one other power. And so when you get a new Mega Man game, the first thing you're trying to figure out is which boss is weak to which power. So you want to defeat a boss, and hopefully the first one you try to defeat is one of the easier ones to defeat with just the cannon blaster. Because if you play one of the really hard guys that you need a weakness, you'll probably die a million times until you give up. Fight another guy. Because there are certain bosses that are much easier to defeat with your standard cannon, which you have right off the bat, which just allows you to shoot basically 3 energy balls on screen at one time. So yeah, I did a lot. I will say I played my version, the PlayStation 4 Legacy Collection, so it has like first 6 or 8 Mega Mans in it. And it did allow for a rewind and quick saves. I did beat the original screen of bosses just trying to figure things out on my own, but I did have the luxury of like rewind and stuff. I will
Yeah.
say when we get to a later part of the game, I looked some things up because I just didn't have the patience at that point. Which version did you play, by the way? Just out of curiosity.
I played the original NES version, but emulated.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Okay, very cool. So anyway, the main mechanic is you're getting all of these new powers when you defeat the bosses, and you're basically trying to get to the end of the game and defeat the biggest, baddest boss of them all, who of course is always Dr. Wily. Mega Man, he can jump and he can slide. Obviously, this is a platformer, and one of the things Mega Man is most known for is really the tight controls, the very precision-based platforming mechanics in this game. And slide was actually introduced in Mega Man 3, so it was not in Mega Man 1 or Mega Man 2 before it. So, Rush is your sidekick companion who you mentioned while talking about the plot. He's like your dog friend. He's a robotic red mechanical dog. And he has 3 different abilities that you can use along with all of your boss abilities. And we'll get to the boss abilities a little bit later when we get into the characters. But Rush's abilities, he can basically act as a trampoline, like a springboard. He can act as a submarine, and he can act as a jet. I am embarrassed to admit this. I did not know what the middle one did the entire game, because every time I tried to use it, it would show up and disappear, and that's because it was a boat, and I never tried to use him underwater.
That's hilarious, but exactly the same thing happened to me.
I didn't know that's what you were supposed to use him for until
Yeah.
putting this document together. So, a couple of dummies over here, and we're supposed to be experts on this shit, right?
Well, see, this is the thing. This was my first playthrough. I think it was yours too, like you said. So, we're purists. We like to try to experience things from, a pure standpoint without looking things up. I'm sure in my second and third playthrough, I will know what to do, so I will use them thusly. But,
Yeah, I mean, I know now, right? So next time I'm in the water,
Yeah.
you basically can you know how Rush Jet, when you stand on him, you can go pretty much anywhere on the screen, and it runs out really quickly, but it's super helpful. That's what the submarine one does, apparently. Like, you're underwater and you can just go all over the place. So live and learn, Micah. Live and learn. So throughout the levels, there's several things you can collect. There's an energy tank, which from the start screen, you can select that and it will completely refill your energy. You can find extra lives. You can find the little capsules that will replenish your special powers. And I think that's pretty much it, other than just energy replenishment as well.
Yeah.
And now, a funny fact about the energy tanks. When I was a kid, I played this game for hours and hours and hours, Mega Man 2 specifically. Not Mega Man 3. I didn't play that till I was an adult. And I never knew what those E-tanks did, and I never used them, so I used to die all the time. I would just try to get really good. Yeah, those are super helpful to know.
Yeah, those come in handy. Those saved my butt more than once.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You kind of need those. That game would be so hard unless you watch these long plays online. People are masters at this game, but...
oh, man. For real.
Cool. So I believe that's everything in terms of gameplay. The only other thing I wanted to highlight is there is a password system that you can use because there was no saves in the original game. But as you would defeat bosses, it's basically like a little grid. You could jot down the grid placement, and then you could use it as like a password system.
Pretty interesting the way that they handled the passwords in this one. I like it. Didn't use it though, like you said. I had autosave as an option, so that's what I did.
Yeah, me too.
But yeah, so our characters, whole host of them. Starting off, we got our basics. Mega Man himself, he is the titular character. He's plain, he has a cannon for a left arm, and he fights with Dr. Light for world peace. Speaking of which, Dr. Light is a friendly robot scientist who is seeking world peace. He created Mega Man, I think, as well as your dog sidekick, correct?
Yep, he created Rush as well.
Yeah. Now, Dr. Wily, he is the scientist turned villain / foe. He went to school with Dr. Light, and they were friendly, but ultimately, they took very different paths. Every game, you are attempting to foil Wily's plans of conquering the world. Then we also have an interesting character, one I've actually never experienced until this playthrough. Proto Man. He's the first ever robot creation from Dr. Light, and considered to be Mega Man's bigger brother. This is the first game he appears in.
Kind of wild. I was wondering who he was the whole game. I don't think you find out till the credits, right?
No, you don't actually. He's just a mini boss in a lot of levels.
Yeah.
But then we also have Roll. She is a robot creation from Dr. Light. She helps around the lab. And then we've got a whole host of lovely bosses.
Oh yeah.
The infamous Needle Man. He has a needle cannon weapon, and he is. Should I read the weaknesses here? Is that too much of a spoiler for the playthroughs?
Yeah. Why don't we read those when we do our walkthrough? We'll
Yeah, I
yeah,
figured.
yeah.
We'll hold off on those weaknesses. But yeah, Needle Man, his special weapon is the needle cannon. We've also got Magnet Man, whose special weapon is a pretty swell magnet missile.
Very swell.
I liked it a lot. Gemini Man, whose special weapon is Gemini Laser. Hard Man, one of my favorite names of this whole entire game. His weapon is the Hard Knuckle.
That's the best name for sure.
So then we have Top Man, as opposed to Bottom Man. His special weapon is Top Spin. Snake Man, whose special weapon is Search Snake. Very useful in certain situations. Then we also have Spark Man, who shoots sparks. Good old Spark Shock. And Shadow Man, whose special weapon is the Shadow Blade.
Oh yeah.
Hell yeah. So yeah, the graphics, pretty solid 8-bit NES graphics. Music just full of killer jams. Worth mentioning there, some of the greatest music I've experienced on the NES. Yeah, and that pretty much wraps up all the information there.
Oh yeah, and I wanted to highlight a couple of my favorite tracks because I actually love this soundtrack. Now, I don't think the top to bottom the entire soundtrack is like filled with bangers. There's definitely like maybe half of the levels, because each level has its own song, right? There's some of them that I'm not like in love with, but the best ones are some of my. I've literally been rocking out to these things for like the last 3 days. I was sending you some of the covers that I saw on YouTube and have been listening to. So, did you by chance highlight any of your favorites?
I just really wanted to say that the intro music at the very beginning of the game is really incredible, and I like it a lot.
Intro music is fantastic.
But I know there was a specific level you really liked.
Yes, my favorite, and I looked this up afterward. I was looking up like what people on the internet and beyond are saying are their favorite songs, and mine matched up pretty well with a lot of the popular opinion out there. So my favorite for sure was Wily Castle. I had stages 3 and 4 written down, but if you look at the soundtrack, it's known as Wily Castle Stage 2 or Wily Castle 2.
Gotcha.
It's just epic, man. It's like it's like a moody, brooding epic. You're going into the shit, and it's time to fight. It's now or never. It pumped me up. I remember just sitting there, like listening to this, playing the game, like stopping to play it or stopped playing just to listen to it.
Hell yeah.
Then yeah, number 2 probably the theme title track. It's fantastic. And then I really like Snake Man and Spark Man. Those songs are just fantastic.
Yeah. I remember really liking Snake Man, but I need to re-listen to that track for sure.
Yeah, it's pretty rad. And I think I sent you that guy who basically did a medley.
Oh, it was
like
great.
8 or 9 minutes long. Oh, it's so good.
Hell yeah.
Just rocking out on guitar, and then his friend with the keytar joins eventually. Oh, it's fantastic.
Super dope. Super dope.
Cool. All right, man. Well, it's almost time for the walkthrough, so why don't we get into a little happy hour real quick where we each just chat about something else outside of gaming that we're consuming and enjoying. And, if anybody ever wants to send any questions in, we can read those and answer those here as well. Or just, like we say, read whatever you send us.
Hell yeah. It'll be a fun time. So
Yeah,
sweet.
Man. Why don't you kick us off?
So this has been a relaxing week full of a lot of stressful days at work. But that being said, I've kicked back a little bit. I've been cooking a lot. I made a pretty super sweet Christmas feast for Christmas, because that was just a few days ago as of the recording. I just want to tell you about my Christmas feast, actually, what I made.
Okay.
So
I like that.
this is, I decided to do just a few traditional things. So I made a ham. I made Brussels sprouts, which I tossed in like a ginger sesame Asian sauce. Super delicious. And then I also had mac and cheese. That's when the traditional ends. Then I also made I also made biscuits and gravy, super Southern style. Just finally learned and perfected a white gravy recipe. I'm super proud of myself now. It's so bad for you, though. I didn't realize how bad this shit was for you. It's mostly butter and flour, I gotta say.
That's why it's so good, Mike.
Oh, hell yeah. Then, other than that, I made General Tso's chicken. I also made some noodles to go underneath that General Tso's chicken, broccoli and onions, Asian style. And then, just some random other desserts. Made a couple of chocolate mousse pies, and that was Christmas feast. Pretty dope.
Jesus, you made all of that?
Yeah, I'm still eating off of it. Honestly, I still got half the ham left. I had to put one of the pies in the freezer because I couldn't even get close to finishing the first one. But yeah, it was just me and my roommate chowing down Christmas morning.
Man, that's amazing.
Yeah, it was delicious.
I mean, you had me at mac and cheese, dude. That actually sounds so good right now. I haven't had mac and cheese in forever.
Man, it was great. It was so good. And I'd make it again. I'd make it again.
I'm actually getting hungry right now. I wasn't hungry 30 seconds ago, and now I'm starving.
Hell yeah.
This is all your fault.
It is all my fault.
Cool.
But yeah,
that's a great one.
Cooking, that was mine. Bam. Now to you, Jono.
Was that just a little Emerald Lagasse there? Bam.
No, but also, bam! There you go. That was Emerald Lagasse.
For mine, it's a book. I read a book called Rules of Civility when I was down in Mexico traveling. Mm-hmm. It's a novel. It's a fiction book, and I'm not really recommending this book because I only thought it was okay. I did enjoy it. Really great writer. It's a period piece from late 1930s. So I enjoyed it from that regard, but it really wasn't my cup of tea for the most part. But the author of that book wrote probably my favorite fiction book that I've read in the last 2 or 3 years called A Gentleman in Moscow, which is the second book he wrote. I read them out of order. But it was that is just such a good book. And because I just read his first novel, just top of mind. So definitely check out A Gentleman in Moscow. It's basically about an old German, Russian archduke who gets sentenced to life living in this hotel. And it's just basically from his age 20 years, around there, early 20s, until he's an old man, and the life that he lives and the characters he meets. Some of my favorite scenes, I think about some of the scenes in this book, they're just it's a very moving book. It's very powerful, and the writing is just incredible. So that's my happy hour.
Heck yeah. Super dope, dude.
I feel like I've probably mentioned that on the show. I don't know.
I'm not positive. You mentioned a few books now, but I don't remember that one specifically. Could be wrong, though.
Okay. We try to track everything that we talk about so we don't repeat, but it's hard to.
Inevitably, it will happen. It will occur.
Yeah. And then our audience can write us angry letters, which we'll then read in happy hour.
Hell yeah.
It really works out.
I would love to read somebody bashing me personally, so if you could get on that, audience, that'd be great. That'd be swell. You can send it in anonymously, too, and we'll still read it.
I'm gonna do it under a code name.
I'm looking forward to it. Hell yeah.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, let's get into the playthrough. I guess it's that time.
Nice. Looking forward to it. Let's shoot, dude.
Yeah, it's gonna be kind of funny because we probably did a lot of these things out of order.
Yeah, I was actually gonna say I'm curious to see what your order was because mine was very specific. I have them written down in my order. But we could also do it however you want. You want to go for your order, and I'll just tell you where I played that, what order I played it in.
I'll say mine first, and then after we talk about that guy, then you can talk about yours. We'll just kind of go back and forth. And then I did want to mention too, we already mentioned the music. The title screen music is fantastic. And then when you're on the boss selection screen, so I had the Mega Man Legacy Collection, like I mentioned, on PlayStation 4. There's that pixelated line kind of in the middle of the screen underneath Mega Man. They left that in the Legacy edition because that was in the original NES edition. I thought that was just a nice little touch that I wanted to highlight there.
Interesting. That is cool.
Yeah.
Give the fans what they want. Flawed graphics.
Staying true to form, you know? You know what I mean?
Hell yeah.
Cool. So the first boss that I fought was Top Man.
Ooh, interesting because I chose Mr. Magnet Man to hit up first. Yes.
Mr. Magnet Man.
So
let's talk about Top Man and then we'll talk about Magnet Man. Why don't we do that? We'll just say what order we did them and then we'll just kind of go back and forth.
Super dope. Top Man was my number 5, but yeah.
Number 5.
Let's talk about him.
Okay, well, let me see where I did Magnet Man. I think he was like number. Oof, he was way down there, man. I think he was actually my second to last, and I believe there's 8 bosses. So he was number 7 for me.
Nice.
Yeah, crazy. Cool. So Top Man, his level kind of had a strange look to it. There's like grass or leaf walls with a blue background, like a baby blue.
No, yeah,
background.
that was one thing I was always really strangely curious about. Why is this so grassy in Top Man's world? Because it's robotic, but grassy robotic?
I don't know. I also wondered that, Micah.
Weird times.
They have they do what they want in Dr. Wily's madness.
It's true.
You know?
It is totes true.
So one thing I noticed about the game when I first started playing is that you couldn't duck. For some reason I thought you could duck in Mega Man. But that's probably because they added the slide mechanic, because you actually use the slide mechanic throughout the game to go under like small ledges and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I also think it's because we recently played Shinobi, and ducking is such an important part in Shinobi.
True.
That it kind of threw me off at first. I was like, why can't I duck? This feels wrong. But I quickly got used to that.
Totally. I do think that slide mechanic definitely does take the place of duck quite a lot. I figured out there are quite a few enemies who shoot just high enough to where you can slide right under their lasers, which is very helpful. But I want to say, too, comparing Shinobi to Mega Man, this is a far superior game, both graphically, musically, and gameplay-wise.
You mean compared to Shinobi?
Yeah, that's right. That's what I meant to say. Shinobi compared to Mega Man. Because, you know...
Not even close.
Yeah,
not even close.
And I mean, just to reiterate, we played the NES version of Shinobi, so we didn't hit up the original True Blue Shinobi, but yeah, these games can't even compare. Mega Man is a way more impressive game.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm almost sad that I compared them at all because of something so dumb like ducking. But hey, I had it in my notes. It's something I noticed right off the bat. Mega Man far superior. So yeah, the only power you start off with when you start the game is rush. You know, you have the rush abilities. So right now you have your cannon, your standard cannon. You got the rush abilities, and that's all you're starting off with. You and Magnet Man stage, and me and Top Man stage. Yeah.
Now I got a question for you. I was under the impression that you got one rush ability, and then you unlocked the other two over time. But that being said, I'm not sure what level I unlocked what in. I just remember that at one point I unlocked the rush ability to be able to use him as a platform, a hoverboard.
Yeah, I think you're actually right, and I don't remember when that happens either.
Yeah, I'm curious to know if there's specific levels you got to play to unlock those, or if they just unlock randomly.
That's a good question. I guess I didn't really notice that, because like later on in the game, you're using everything all the time, and they're there. But that's a good point. I think you.
I gotta say though, I fiddled a lot early on with the powers, and learned that some of them are not as good as others in certain situations.
Looking at you, Top Man.
Top Man, what the fuck for that power? It was only good in 2 bosses, and that's all it was useful for.
Yeah, it was pretty shit. It was by far the least useful in terms of like stage to stage.
Man, it would have been cool if you could have used...
I guess we'll talk about that soon.
Yeah, it would have been cool if you could have used it like Top Man did to deflect attacks. But anyway, one thing I want to talk about in the Top Man level, was there anything in the beginning you wanted to go over before we go into the 2 mini bosses of the stage?
Nope, I think the first note I have is the mini boss that we battle.
Yeah. The little cat. This is fun because initially you get into this little pit where this cat begins to throw what looks like robotic balls of yarn at you. Once you destroy or dodge these, you can continue to hit the cat. Then if you manage to destroy the yarn, though, it will then throw fleas onto you. Robotic fleas. Quite scary.
Yeah.
I was more scared of the fleas than I was of the yarn, personally.
That is definitely more scary. And I see, one of the things I love about Mega Man is there are so many character designs in the games. And right off the bat in Top Man, I was like, I love this. I love this silly tiger cat looking thing throwing yarn at me. It's great.
Yeah.
So
It's definitely
highlight to all the designs.
Yeah, totally. I like the design, the robotic design of all these weird enemies. That cat's one of the highlights of this game for me, for sure. So I just wanted to give him a shout out. And those fleas. Hell yeah.
Very cool. So you said there was another. That's pretty much all I had written down for that level. There was so many things going on in all the levels that I don't know. I
True.
didn't want to take like a gazillion notes.
The only things I really wanted to say about that level, the 2 cat bosses. Also, there's this whole entire jumping section where you're jumping on little platforms that are also spinning tops. Just keeping that theme alive, with the tops. Like it. Love it.
Mm-hmm.
Generally
there's
speaking,
like the one boss that throws the tops down and they go down the stairs.
Yeah,
the guy you're talking about.
Top baby. But I'm also talking about the fact that that's what I like to call him, because he's not top man. He's top baby. But no, there's a platform. It's a scene where you're jumping over these platforms, which are spinning tops, and it's making you go back and forth slowly, so you have to time your jumps properly. So yeah, I just wanted to give that a shout out, keeping that theme alive.
Yeah, fantastic. Very cool. Then we get to Top Man himself. Yeah, the one and only Mr. Top Man. He's an interesting cat, I would say. He has what we already talked about, the spinning top move that he can deflect attacks, and he kind of basically just does like a quick spin in midair. And his weakness is the hard knuckle, which I didn't have because I was just playing this for the first time.
Yeah.
So it really does make the bosses so much easier when you have their weakness to battle them.
Totally. And I, being the stubborn asshole that I am, refuse to look up the majority of these bosses, so I had to beat him the old-fashioned way with the good old reggae Mega Man laser blaster, cannon blaster. What's the official name of this weapon?
Of Top Man's weapon?
No, Mega Man's standard weapon.
Oh, I think it's just the cannon blaster, but I could be wrong.
Cannon blaster.
I have everything written down from the boss's powers, but I don't have his written down.
I was just gonna say I'm acting like a noob. I don't even know if I'm saying the right word here, but the classic Mega Man cannon blaster is how I defeated Top Man. Same thing. So it took a minute, to deal with those deflecting spins and also those homing tops, but eventually, he went down.
We took him down real good.
Oh yeah,
Micah.
He liked it.
This would have been a fun game to do couch co-op on too, just because it's so hard and it's like we would have watched each other suffer, so we would have suffered together.
Yes, suffered together, comrade. Well, solid. You want to go up to my number one, my first go through?
Yeah, let's do it, man. Let's do Magnet Man.
So to discuss Magnet Man, the first boss that I myself faced up against,
and the 7th for me, Micah, very different.
That is interesting that you chose number 7. I found it to be this level to be a pretty good intro to the game style, like the gameplay. The first couple of enemies didn't even really harm you. They just sort of magnetically sucked you into the air a little bit, which you could use to make some pretty sweet jumps over those pits, or it can mess up your already planned sweet jumps to make you fall straight into those pits. But yeah, it was a pretty fun intro, I feel like, to the game. I had a good time with it.
Yeah, it made the platforming definitely harder because of those magnets. I think they did that purposely to give you a sense that they weren't dangerous, just so that you were going to jump over one pit at the wrong time, right when a magnet was going to screw you up,
Yeah, ouchie, ouch.
Ouchie, ouch.
But other than the magnets, this is also the first level where you face off against Proto Man himself.
Yes. Do, 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 do.
Such a little edgy, emotional little whistle before you face off against the guy who pretty much just jumps and shoots at you the whole time, which is surprisingly difficult to deal with.
Mm-hmm. Now, I think you just tried to actually whistle it because it is a whistle. It's like a flute whistle sound. I didn't even try to do it, Micah.
I don't know if I told you this, but I actually lost the ability to whistle. Yeah, I used to be able to whistle very nice, and then I got braces and lost the ability. I don't know how to whistle anymore. It's gone.
You got straight teeth, though.
Ish.
Well, I never had braces, and I don't have straight teeth, so I can still whistle, though.
Damn you, Jono.
Yeah, it was pretty bad, though. It was my attempt to do Proto Man's whistle.
Well, hey, you got the point across. Anyhow, Proto Man, I'm not even going to lie. I died at him. He was my first death in this game. Dadgum,
wow.
Dang old Proto Man. But I beat him eventually. I think what I figured out is you can kind of slide under him when he's jumping if you time it right. And, sometimes you just have to take a hit once or twice to be able to deal with the issues.
Yeah. See, this was not my first time to fight Proto Man because, like I said, Magnet Man was my 7th stage. So I don't know. Well, I don't know. I don't remember. I think it was like the 2nd or 3rd the first time stage that I played that I fought him, but We'll get to it. I don't remember.
Mm.
But yeah, he is a little. He's challenging at first. Once you get his movements down, he's not super hard, but he's just constantly jumping on top of your head. That's what killed me because he killed me the first time I played him too.
Yeah, dang it, Mr. Proto Man. But at this level, one of my least favorite enemies in the whole entire game, they are these springy bots that shoot the homing missiles at you. And the problem I have with these homing missiles is it's always near impossible to hit them as they are flying at you. But you can indeed shoot them, so they don't always home in on you. But if they miss you, you better be sure they're going to turn around and come back at you.
Yeah, you need to kill the main guy as quickly as possible so that he can only get off like one missile or two missiles maybe. Because if you are too slow, all of a sudden you're trying to dodge all these missiles, and it can be a pain in the butt for sure.
Yeah, and if Springman gets off too much, it's not going to be a good time for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry, go for it.
I was going to say anyway, but yeah, what's next?
So I might have missed something you said because you're chuckling over there, and I think something.
I said if Springman gets off too much, it's not going to be a fun time for you.
Oh my God, that's so good too.
I know.
I would have reacted better, Mike. I'm kind of ashamed of myself for missing it.
No, it's okay. Digital high five. We did it. Bad innuendo.
Those are my favorite though, the bad ones.
Hell yeah. Well, sweet. What's next for you in this level? What's worth mentioning next?
I have the area with the pink blocks that disappear, and you kind of got to time everything out to jump on them.
That hurt my soul a little bit playing that.
Yeah, there's is it this level where it has the fans that are sucking you in while you're trying to jump on those blocks, or is that a different level?
It may be this level, but I think that was later on in the game. I think that was one of the second go through levels.
Yeah, because they basically a lot of this game, it gets harder and harder, and they take aspects from the original 8 bosses, and then they reuse them when you get to like Wily's Castle and in the harder areas and make those sections tougher. But yeah, this was it wasn't necessarily hard the whole time. It was a little frustrating at times to get over these pink blocks. And there is one section where you have to do it over a pit, which that can break your soul.
All I gotta say is thank God for rewind. In my case,
Yeah, absolutely. So that's everything I had written down for the enemies and everything. And then I did just have a little bit about the design itself. It's kind of like pale, tiered pink sky when you first start out the level. Every level in the game has almost every level has some sort of like industrial feel to it with, circuitry boards and things like that. And this one does have like some electrical wires running throughout the level that you see. Yeah, that's all I really had though for this one.
Well, hell yeah. I didn't have anything else written down but the boss.
Let's get it to it, man. Mr. Magnet Man himself.
He sucks. You win. He also shoots out homing magnets, which are pretty difficult to dodge. This boss took me a minute to figure out, but in the end, I got him.
Yeah. So this was your first one, and you were using just the cannon blaster. You see, for me, I had 6 other bosses' powers at this time, and especially with rewind and autosave, as I was gaining abilities, I would try the abilities I had on the boss, hoping that they would work. And for this one, he was weak to the spark, the electrical gun.
Yep.
And so he was actually super easy once I figured that out.
Now, whenever I finally got over to Sparkman, I was like, oh, magnets. How do these work? And they didn't work, as it turns out.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Mr. Magnet Man himself defeated him. I really like his power up. It's probably one of my favorite in this game. Not my favorite, but one of my favorites.
One of your favorites.
Yeah. What were you saying though?
I was gonna say his weapon is like it shoots out magnets that if you're shooting it at something metal, they'll kind of like home into them, like sink to them.
Which is hella useful.
It is very, very nice weapon.
Hell yeah.
So cool. That's Magnet Man. Who was your second boss that you fought?
So second boss I faced off against was Shadow Man.
Shadow Man. My second boss was Sparkman.
Well, hell yeah.
So
let's talk. I was gonna say, you want to talk about Sparkman and then head up Shadow Man after?
Let's freaking do it, bro. So it's an electricity themed level, of course. It's Sparkman. He's electric. And everything is kind of like flashing. It seems like there's like a charge running through everything in this level. Again, lots of circuit board type designs throughout this game, especially this level. And there was a pretty cool section I really don't have a whole lot. Hold on, let me pull up something on this level. So yeah, when did you play Sparkman?
He was actually number 6 for me.
Okay, so a little bit later on for sure.
But yeah, like you said, I really liked the cool machine vibe going on with everything. Circuit boards, weird contraptions. This is definitely like your 1990s computer inside of a computer level. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Liked it.
Very, very cool. I have in my notes, pretty cool section where you drop down like 4 or 5 screens. I think it's near the end of the level where you're meeting the boss and you're like getting close to the end, and you're just like dropping down through all these screens. It was a pretty cool design, I thought.
I like that too. Some of the enemies I wanted to point out, the flying plugs that shoot sparks at you.
Yes, I love that design.
Yeah, me too. Also, the spark walls that would like light up and turn off and on, and you had to time your jumps through them. I love stuff like that. Also, those spin and throw robots, I think, were well for you. They're probably first introduced in this level, which I found to be difficult. You have to do your time, get your timing just right. You have to shoot them in the face, I think, too. Yeah, bulldozers, walking iBots, as I like to call them. There was a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I love the bulldozer look. The hard hat guys, they're pretty iconic for the Mega Man universe. The little hard hats, they're like hats. You see a hard hat on the ground and you can't shoot it. Your bullets won't damage it. But when you get closer, it'll stand up and like shoot a power ball at you. And I just love that design. It is a classic Mega Man. But the bulldozer ones, to me, are just kind of adorable. I don't know. I like it. I love them.
They have a cute factor of 100.
Cute factor of 100. Yeah. Absolutely.
But also, one thing I wanted to point out, too, the garbage chutes in this level. That was a weird addition, but it was cool. It was a cool design.
Yeah, it's basically like giant blocks of garbage, which is pretty cool. And this level also has the section, which my favorite thing about the levels in Mega Man, other than the design and music, everything, is not necessarily battling all the enemies. I like the super heavy platforming sections, and this is one of the cool sections where like you jump on a little platform and there's an arrow on it, and it goes up towards the spike ceiling, and you have to quickly jump on them to get through the different pits. So I always like things like that in Mega Man.
Hell yeah.
All right, so then talk about the boss. Let's talk about Mr. Sparkman himself.
So the man of Spox, the man of Spark. I don't know why I said it like that. I didn't even mean to. It just came out like that.
I don't know what that was, Micah, but I loved it.
Sparks.
The man of Sparks.
Sparkman, the man of Sparks himself, shoots out a rather large blast of electricity at you. That's a sort of main attack. He also has sort of not a true area of attack because it's multiple small projectiles going out in a radius around him. But it's sort of a similar, it's sort of a going out from his central point attack, which can be rather difficult to deal with. I will say for me, I used Shadow Man's weapon, and he didn't last long. I don't know if that's his true weakness, but I tried to use Magnus at first, and I didn't do shit. So I switched over to Shadow Man, and that's what I used against him. And I think actually that is his weakness. So
that is his weakness, which I actually love Shadow Man's. It's like a shuriken, basically.
Yeah.
Kind of looks like that, and it really, really cool weapon. I did not have that. I tried using Top Spin, and I actually have in my notes. At this point, I don't know what the fuck Top Man's power does. That's what I wrote. Because like you're just spinning around. I guess you can hit enemies with it, but it's so impractical to use. And again, this was only the second boss, and I was trying to use it, and I died immediately. So, yeah.
I gotta say, every single time I used Top Man's power, I always got hurt. Whether or not I actually did what I was intending to do, I couldn't figure out how to play Top Man safe.
Yeah, me either. I hated that. I hated his move.
Well, fuckity fuck.
Well, I just watched the playthrough while we were talking through Sparksman's level, and whoever was playing used Top Spin the entire time. That's Top Man's move. Just like spinning around through the level and doing stuff. I clearly was using it wrong.
Yeah, I got to go back, watch some videos, learn how to play this game properly, and do it again. Personally, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Well, sweet. You want to hit up Shadow Man next, which was my...
Yeah. Just wanted to say before we got away from Sparkman that I died quite a bit because I was still using the normal cannon blaster, and so I found him pretty tricky.
Now, I think I lost a life, but I also think I rewound before I lost a life, before I beat him.
I think I died 5 times before I decided to use rewind during the fight. I died 5 times.
Damn, dude.
It is what it is.
Well, that happens. Sweet. Any other things to say about Mr. Sparky Boy?
No, dude, I want to talk about the one and only Shadow Man.
So Shadow Man was number 2 for me. What was he for you?
He was number 4 for me.
So still early on in the game for you. I think Shadow Man is an interesting boss. The level starts off with lava falls. You're quickly faced with frogs and bulldozers. And you quickly face off with Proto Man himself again.
This might be when I played him for the first time. Let's see. The second screen, you run into the pink other Mega Man. He is introduced by the whistle, which is the iconic sound effect. Yeah, I think this is when I first fought him.
Interesting. No, it's funny.
I'm wrong. My third. So this was my 4th level. We'll get to it when on my 3rd level. Sorry. I spoke
Interesting.
Too soon, Micah.
Because my first 2 levels, I faced off against this dude back to back. I think it was a little trickier this time around because I think the terrain was slightly different, which made it more difficult. But yeah, Proto Man, take him down. You're faced off with walking eyeballs and these other enemies too that like to make everything very dark, which I usually hate this in video games. But at this point, I just tried my best to take them the F out with Mr. Magnet Man's powers, which came in handy here quite a lot. Glad he was the first guy I faced off against. But yeah, you take out those dudes, you take out the walking eyeballs, you got some bulldozers, but you take those dudes out too. Lots of rooms filled with lava, more lava. Those parachuting guys, which I really hate, they're probably my least favorite enemy in this game. Do you know the ones I'm talking about?
Yep.
Hate them.
They're not. I never felt that opposed to them. I never hated them that much.
They just always happen to pop up right when I didn't need them to, which I think is the way
they look jolly.
Yeah, they jollily destroyed my playthrough. I had to rewind so much because of those parachuters.
When the parachute first activates, they get really giant eyes and they look goofy, and then they look a little bit sour as they're falling. But
First
they
sour.
never bothered me that much.
Yeah, first they're sweet, then they're sour. Opposite.
I actually I kind of liked because I really hate that mechanic too. I think we talked about it in our Donkey Kong Country playthrough where the lights go out. But I like this one. I thought it was a little bit more unique because you still see the enemies.
Yeah.
So in Donkey Kong, they just disappear. You're literally in total blackness, which is really just not fun. This one, it kind of turns into interstellar, it's like you're in space.
Yeah.
It's got the little stars everywhere, and you get those green grenade-looking guys running at you. I don't know. I kind of thought it was a cool effect that they did it that way.
Yeah, I liked it too, myself. It just felt like you dropped acid or something, for 5 seconds.
Maybe you did, Micah. I don't know.
I didn't mean to, but maybe I did. The only other bot or enemies I wanted to point out were the dragonfly bots. They sort of home in on you. Them coupled with those parachuters makes for a difficult platforming experience. But, time your jumps right, be patient, take out the enemies before they become a problem. You will succeed. You will succeed.
See, I thought the dragonflies were more annoying than the parachute guys. And later in the game, there's a sequence when you're getting pretty far into the game that I found them very, very annoying. But yeah, that's just me.
Gotcha. Well, sweet. Then, that pretty much takes us to Shadow Man himself.
The one and only.
Yeah, so he's got sort of like ninja stars on his head. He jumps around at you and throws those ninja stars, which is the Shadow Man power-up. Not terribly hard. I didn't really have that tough of a time beating him. I don't even think I died, which is weird because most bosses at least took 1 life from me. And I have to say, his power-up, because you can use it to shoot up, became one of my favorites very fast.
Yes. The ability to shoot up is actually one of the great things about Shadow Man's power. And his weakness is actually topspin, which I luckily had, and I did kill him with topspin. You would hit him, you would still get hit. I never figured out how to not get hit with topspin, but the chunk of health you would take was very huge when you would hit him with topspin.
Dang.
So yeah, he was pretty easy for me too once I realized it was topspin.
Well, dang, you took him out. I took him out. We got his power. We fucking walked all over him and moved on. Where did you go next?
I went to Gemini Man for my 3rd level. Where did you go?
So I went to Hard Man for number 3. Gemini Man was actually my final boss on the 8th. Saved him for last.
Let's see. Hard Man was he was my last boss too.
Dang, look at that. Look at
So,
that.
Hard Man was my last boss, and Gemini Man was your last boss.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're talking about our last bosses here.
Well, sweet.
So Gemini Man, he's the Gemini Man. What? You remember that game? For whatever reason, this just popped in my head. What was it called? It was, I think, Gemini something on Nintendo 64.
I'm not familiar with this.
Darn. It wasn't a great game. It was really hyped up to be a great game. Jet Force Gemini? Was it Jet Force Gemini?
I don't know.
I'm gonna have to look this up now, Mike. I can't get over it. It was Jet Force Gemini. Look it up sometime. You have like a weird dog sidekick. I think they was maybe inspired by Mega Man. Who knows?
Nice.
Anyway, Gemini Man, I think this is a very cool stage. The beginning of the level, you're kind of on like a icy pillar plateau of sorts. Like,
yeah.
I don't even know. Yeah, they look like ice shafts, right? That you're standing on.
Mm-hmm.
And then it almost seems like you're in outer space at the same time.
It sort of seems like an late night Arctic level is what it feels like to me.
Yeah, late night Arctic. They're just very heavy on the stars, which I like. It's pretty much the same background as when the game will disappear in the last level that we were talking about.
Totally.
Now
I really liked the fire dropping robots that you hit really early on in the level, and plus those penguin bots were hella cute.
The penguin bots, they're extra chubby, which is nice.
Now, do they
makes them funnier.
They're shooting projectiles. Are these projectiles eggs? Because that's what I thought of them as. I don't know.
If they're shooting their own eggs at you, that's pretty brutal.
Yeah, I know. Killing their children to defeat their enemies.
Well, everybody knows penguins are the most ferocious of creatures.
True, actually. They're degenerates. Every last one of those goddamn tuxedo-wearing freaks.
Yes, they are degenerates, but they look good while they do it.
Oh,
so this is my first run-in with Proto Man. You don't actually fight him in this level, though. So the first time I fought him was in Shadow Man's level. But in Gemini's Man's level, you kind of just run into him, and he's on this platform, and then he opens it up for you.
Yeah, it's weird because I did not understand what was going on when that happened.
Yeah, I didn't really either. Well, I think, you're back. Sorry, I lost you for a second there.
That's okay. I got a little blip in my internet, but it's working again, so there we go.
All right, so yeah, Proto Man opens up this like giant metal column essentially, and you just fall down, and then the design totally changes, and I really like the look of this design. It's of this stage. Yeah. It's almost like amoebas, I guess, or like cells. It's kind of got that look.
Yeah, are you talking about the little eggs you have to destroy?
The eggs you have to destroy, and even the bright orange, blue, and pink tile art on the sides. It almost looks kind of like biological too, like they're cells,
I think it's supposed to, because later on, that becomes an interesting aspect of the secondary version of this level.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, and I just like the colors they chose too. It's just the level really pops.
Yeah.
And then there's these little orbs that every time you kill one, a little blue sperm comes out. I don't know what else to call them. They're like tadpoles, but it's funnier to say sperms, right?
A little blue spermy boy.
Yeah, and if you shoot a bunch of these orbs at once, there's like a horde of blue sperms flying at you. Yeah. It's intense.
But
and
I guess
we have.
Oh, just to point out, this is actually a really good time to stock up on your items if you need some power ups. That's what I did. I just farmed these little eggs the whole time.
Oh yeah, for sure, because most of them will drop something. So
Anything.
Very, very good for that. And then we have a mini boss, which is one of my favorite mini bosses in the game. I really like this guy.
Yeah, so what was the mini boss for this one?
He is a mechanical penguin. I just think penguins are hilarious, and he wasn't that hard, but he's got like a crank on his head, and you fight a bunch of them. There's like several of these mini bosses, so you might not even consider them mini bosses, but they're bigger enemies, And little penguins will slide out on their stomach at you, and it's just, I don't know. Again, penguins are hilarious, and so I like those. You fight two of those guys back to back.
Hell yeah. I kind of thought of them as those old school, like, homemade slushy machines where you put the ice in and you cranked it on the top.
Yeah.
That's maybe what I was supposed to be. But also, great time to farm some power-ups. Those penguins do drop a lot of stuff for you, too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, those guys, it was a little bit hard to fight the factory. At first, I didn't know where you had to hit him, but eventually I found his weak spot and he went down.
Mm-hmm. And then we basically have a platforming segment where you're jumping on smaller versions of those little like amoeba tiles or cell tiles.
Mm-hmm.
And there's water at the bottom and big fish swimming around. Also with those fucking dragonflies, which
Yeah.
I do not like those dragonflies. I thought they were more annoying than the fish that kind of swim underneath you and shoot missiles up at you.
Yeah.
But it was a pretty challenging platforming section, and I like the platforming section, so I really like this part of the game.
Hell yeah. You know, for this part, though, I found it to be too challenging, so this is where I used that dog hoverboard power-up and just flew over everything. It was super sweet. I think it was actually made for this, too, because I think at one point you do pick up the recharging your power-ups pickup, which is a larger recharge, so it made me able to fly through the majority of it just fine.
Yeah, the Rush Jet. Very, very valuable.
Indeed.
I probably used it at part of that, too, but I think I actually platformed most of that one.
Hell yeah.
To be honest. Cool. And then I think that's pretty much the bulk of the level, and then we get to our nemesis.
Yes, our
Mr. Gemini Man.
He was actually not terribly difficult once you figured out his whole entire trick. Now, it took me a minute to figure it out, though, because I just kept shooting him blindly and getting shot by him, and that was really annoying. But then I realized how to beat Gemini Man. Then it became really fun.
So I died 8 times. So again, you're just better at games than me, Micah. I died 8 times on this freaking guy.
No, I died a couple times, don't get me wrong. But once I figured out his, thing, it was cool.
Yeah. Well, I figured it out, too. I wrote in my notes, I know what to do. I'm just timing it poorly. Because he does that, circular dual body setup. His weakness, Gemini Man's weakness is Search Snake, which I didn't have. That's Snake Man's.
Yeah. I used Search Snake, and it worked very well.
I bet that was wonderful while I died 8 times.
But yeah, Gemini Man was difficult. Like I said, it was fun once you figured out his thing. I think the second version was a lot more fun when I had Gemini Laser to fight off against Gemini Man. So fun times. Good times, great oldies, as I like to say.
So you use Gemini's own weapon against Gemini Man? Because that's usually not their weakness, is it?
Eventually I did, and it's actually their secondary weakness, if I remember correctly.
Oh, interesting.
But yeah, I did some non-traditional things here on my playthrough. So
you're hardcore, man. You're hardcore, Micah.
You're not hardcore till you live hardcore. That's what the song says.
What song?
That's in School of Rock.
School of Rock. I've never seen School of Rock.
It's worth watching.
I know. It's one of those movies I've always said I'm gonna watch, and I never have.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Okay, so time for my number 3.
Yes, which is Hard Man, I believe.
Yes, the hardest man.
Wow.
He's hard. He's also rock hard.
He's rock hard, man.
Yeah. But dude, I gotta say, I really like the backgrounds here. It's sort of a mountainous outdoor area. I hate the enemies, though. These little bee-bots that drop multiple small bee-bots. They hurt me on the inside and on the outside.
The bees are tough, and they actually come into play later on as well. And they're always at the worst time. In the beginning, they're just letting you know who they are, and so they're pretty easy to fight. But once you start bringing the pits involved, the bees are the worst.
Yeah, but dude, these MF and B bots, I did find that Shadow Man's power up was pretty good because you could usually angle your shot to get rid of the bot that was holding the bees, but you had to get kind of lucky. Yeah, other than that, we had the damn monkey bots, which were annoying too. I had a fun time with those bad boys. But yeah, really just you stay away and use your shadow power up and you can take them out. But yeah, we get, recurring bulldozer bots, those little helmet boys, more bee guys, and then you have another Proto Man battle.
Yep. And you also have the green guys that are swinging the weight above his head and he throws it at you. Those guys are involved in this stage too.
Spinny bots. Now the funny thing is, this is my 3rd level, and every level in the first 3 I had to face off against Proto Man, I believe.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah.
You probably thought he was in every single level.
Yeah, I just thought he was like a every level thing, which is kind of nice to figure out that was not the case. But yeah, I think there were jumping egg bots that I said that was a pain. If we just kind of slide under them, that was the trick. It took me a minute to figure that out. I died a couple times at them. I'm not even gonna lie, Because sometimes it's always the dumb enemies that get me, man. The ones that should be really easy, they're not the easy ones for me.
That's how it goes, man.
Yeah. Yowza. Anyway, hard man, heavy duty, heavy man. What do you got to say
Boner
about
man. Somebody had to say it.
What do you have to say about this boner?
Well, he was hard. That's what I wrote. His weakness was magnets, which I had every power other than Hardman's at this point, and so I tried them all. But I realized those were his weaknesses, the magnet man power, but they weren't as strong as a lot of different people's weaknesses against other bosses. Like, they didn't do as much damage as I would have liked, and maybe I was just missing him. But I didn't die nearly as many times as I did on Gemini Man, where I said I died 8. So he would basically throw like 2 metal fist looking things at you, like they were metal fists flying at you, and then he would jump and slam into the ground, and this would freeze you in place. But I found his patterns a little easier to master, and it's probably because I also figured out that Magnus was his weakness because I had every power, that I was able to take him down fairly quickly compared to some of the other bosses.
Yeah.
How about you?
I used Magnet on him immediately, and I did find that to be pretty easy. Now, I mean, he definitely took a long time to kill, and I think I died once at him at least. But the Magnus overall did make pretty quick work of him. Those gloves, though, that circle back, that was so difficult to deal with. It took me a minute to figure out how to sort of dodge and jump around those. So, yeah, not even gonna lie, I think he killed me maybe 3 times, 4 times before I figured that trick out. I said I died
Me
a couple
too.
times.
That's probably the normal, though. I probably died 3 or 4 times at least on every single boss, trying to figure out, which power he was weak to and things like that.
Yeah, I try not to abuse rewinds, but there are certain bosses I did. And eventually after 4 deaths, I think I abused it a little bit to get past it. So
that's kind of how I did. I would try to beat them multiple times. After like the 4th time, I'd be like, screw it. I'm just gonna. I need to move on.
Cheating.
All right, so we have 2 bosses left. We have Snake Man and Needle Man. Snake Man was my 4th.
He was my 4th as well.
All right, look at that.
Yeah, so, Stinky Boy.
And then Needle Man was my 5th. Where was Needle Man for you?
He was my 7th.
7th. All right. Well, let's talk through Snake Man. Let's do it, bro.
So Snake Boy, as I like to call him, Snake Man though. The level has some interesting background art. Like I said, I always like to point that out. Love pointing that shit out because backgrounds. Enemies, some of them are really crazy. Lots of in-place snake heads that shoot at you. So fun times. Reminds me of those dragon heads in fucking Castlevania.
Oh yeah, for
sure. But yeah, this is a fun level. Definitely really like it. Had a fun time with it. Once I figured out how to get away from those annoying pole vaulters, it made it better.
Yeah, the pole vaulters are pretty challenging. They like run at you, but their pole, it will fall on you. So you have to back away from them and then also move forward so they don't land on you. You got to time it right.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. This level, though, I really do enjoy the aesthetic of this level. It's all green. I mean, you're Snake Man, so it's super, super green. But, like, all the pipes and stuff, they look, like, scaly. I don't know. I just think it's a pretty cool effect on this level.
Hell yeah. Gotta agree with that. For sure.
And then you kind of have that mini-boss, which is, like, the giant snake head in the bridge. Its body's, like, moving up and down. I think that was pretty cool as well.
Nice. Hell yeah. One thing I wanted to point out too is this level opens up really weirdly. You go from all these like sort of like dark underground places to like up climbing towers. There's a whole entire jumping sequence in the clouds where you have those bullet bills hidden in clouds coming at you. Because I mean they're pretty much just straight bullet bills. So let's be real here.
Yeah. Yes, they are.
Yeah, and then other than that, it's just sort of like once you kind of get past that, it's just Snake Man in the clouds, Snaky Boy.
Yeah, it is pretty cool that the level does like change environment so much where you do end up in the clouds. And I also have to mention this again. The music is great in this level. I wrote down in my playthrough this music. This track is a banger.
Yeah, definitely.
Really, really good soundtrack for this level. One of the best, I think. Top 3, top 4. Sparkman was good too.
Nice.
Yeah, there's a lot of health pickups in this stage too, which helped make the level a little bit more doable.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. I didn't really have to play this too many times because I didn't die too many times.
I'm watching a playthrough right now, and he's using topspin for the pole vaulters, which I never did.
Mm.
Probably should have used topspin more. Whatever I was doing with it was wrong because I was always getting hurt. But this guy's never getting hurt, so there must be some secret to it that we just didn't figure out. I don't know.
Do you have to land on top of them? Is that the trick?
No. I'm watching this guy. He's like just blasting into him, and yeah, he's messing him up real nice, Micah. Real nice.
It's all about timing, you know.
Yeah, must be. I don't know.
We'll get there one of these days.
Yeah, but this last segment I'm watching it now was pretty cool in the clouds. I really did like, because I wasn't expecting the Snake Man level to turn into this sort of level.
Yeah, me either at all. So I was happily engrossed in what was going on.
Yeah, and I didn't have Rush Jet here. I don't know when you get Rush Jet, because that would have made this level really easy too. I did not use Rush Jet on that part, 100%.
Gotcha. I didn't use it either. I should have. That would have been cool.
I don't know if I had it. I don't know. Tell us about. Oh, sorry. Go for it.
Snakey Boy. You want to tell us about the Snake Boy himself?
Yeah, I want to hear about Snake Boy.
He was weirdly easy. I don't know what happened. I had a good amount of health. I didn't know what was strong against him, but I still beat him in one go.
Now, I used the shurikens to beat him, and I died several times. I am not Micah status when it comes to video gaming.
I suck at this game, so don't Micah status. Don't at me.
His weakness was the needle cannon. I did not have. I played Needleman next. I really didn't. I would say more than half the bosses I did not have the right thing, but the shurikens worked pretty well against him, and I eventually took him down. Or the Shadow Mans. I don't think they're called shurikens, but they look like shurikens a little bit.
That's what I call them.
Yeah.
Cool. But yeah, Snake Man, took him out. Love his power up. It came in handy quite a lot. Later on, particularly, I think at any of the little frog guys or the helmet guys too, because they're hard to hit. Snakes come in handy. You throw one down, you jump near him, he pops up out of his helmet, he's dead. Same thing with the frogs. You can hit them without it activating their jump. So it's cool. It's useful for sure.
Yeah, they are useful, and they're cool. His is just cool because you're literally throwing snakes that are running at your enemies. So I
love
like
it.
the design of that too.
My only gripe with this though, later on I faced off against Snake Man again and tried to use his own snakes against him, and his snakes will knock your snakes out of the way. It's not fair. Why are his snakes better than my snakes?
His are the OG snakes, dude. You ripped his snakes off.
It's true, I did. These are true things.
Well, I think we only have one to go, and then we're going to be entering the second half of this game here.
Hell yeah. So Mr. Needleman himself.
Mr. Needleman himself. So yeah, what do you start us off with this stage? Because I think I started us off with the snake one.
Hell yeah. So this one was the second to last one I fought. Gotta say, right at the bat, those Needlesaurus dudes are a pain. But can be used to harvest power-ups because the needles they shoot can actually be shot and will drop power-ups on occasion. So if you're careful, you can do some pretty good stocking up before you get too far in this level. Helmets and the dragonflies cover the outside of the complex. Once again, use those snakes, use the homing magnets and the dragonflies, you'll be in good shape. Once you drop inside the complex, you're faced with large needles, spikes, I'm not sure. They try to crush you though, and you gotta avoid them. So time your jumps right. The annoying spiky boys come back to give you a little bit of an issue. But yeah, there's some fun ladder climbing. You're faced with some, those spinning projectile robots that sort of like sling the thing and then throw it at you.
Yeah.
Always find them difficult. They definitely slow you down. But, that's pretty much the only things you really face off in this level. Anything worth pointing out in the actual level itself? Yeah,
the things I wanted to point out, one, those porcupine needle guys, they were pretty hard. I thought they were pretty challenging. And I don't know, because they turn into like a wheel and they roll at you. And then when they're a wheel, you can't shoot them. So if you don't kill them at your first opportunity, and they take a pretty large amount of shots, they can cause some damage for sure. Especially if they fall into sometimes you're standing in a smaller area, and if they get in that area and they hit you, there's not much you can do. Yeah. I also like this level because it was super vertical. You're constantly like climbing up in a lot of the level, which I thought was a pretty cool aspect to it as well. And just overall, kind of like the design.
Yeah, I did too, actually. Those those crushing spikes were kind of fun to, have to dodge and time your jumps with.
Mm-hmm.
And it just seems to bring back some of the classic old school platformer, tropes that work. So
yeah, for sure, man. So then I think we get to Mr. Needleman himself here, and he is weak to. Where are you at, Needleman? He's weak to the Gemini laser, which I don't know if I had that yet. Yes, I did have the Gemini laser, which is good because I didn't have a lot of the correct weaknesses for a lot of these bosses. So first of all, the Gemini laser will ricochet around the walls when you shoot it. So it is actually hard to use because if you don't hit somebody, it will just keep going around before it wears itself out. And you cannot shoot another Gemini laser until that one has taken its course. Now, obviously, if you hit somebody, you can shoot another one again right away.
Yeah.
So I have a note in here that I actually didn't realize that the PS4 Legacy version had rewind until this boss, and this was the end of boss 5. So I didn't have rewind for much of this game for the first 5 levels.
Yeah.
So foolish.
I gotta say, Needleman was probably out of the first 8 bosses the hardest one for me.
You think so?
Yeah, he was tough. I had a hard time figuring out his sort of like, ways to dodge his attacks. He just, he has those really quick needle attacks, and I used the Shadow Star against him, but it wasn't super effective, So it took me quite a few deaths to be able to make it through.
Yeah.
Lost a lot of good robots there that day.
He was hard because he would shoot those 4 needles, and those were super hard to dodge.
Yeah.
Difficult. They're just super hard to dodge those. So I did die a lot too, and also because the Gemini gun is hard to target, like hard to actually aim, I had to play him several times. Once I figured out that the Gemini gun was his weakness,
Yeah. Took me a minute, but you know what? Once I completed him, then I went on to go face Gemini Man, and it just felt like a victory, an absolute and perfect and complete victory. But then we get to the second half of the game at that point.
Yeah, now, how do you want to handle the second half of this game? Because the next section is Mega Man 2 Revisited. All of the bosses we're about to fight are actually from Mega Man 2.
Which is interesting because I've never played Mega Man 2, so I didn't know who the fuck these spirits were going into these robots,
Yeah, that was probably very confusing. And now it has been 15 years since I've played Mega Man 2, so I kind of forgot too. I had to look them up and like, who the fuck, what is happening? Yeah, so but after you beat the last stage, it basically like shows all of the names of the guys you defeated. But it's the same screen. It shows you the same screen of all the guys you defeated, but their names are there, but all their pictures are gone. And in the 4 corners, there's like a new image.
Yeah.
And so you know that you have to go to those 4 areas, and then that's where you're going to continue the game.
Oh yeah.
And so yeah, I did write down which square I picked. So did you write down which order you went in on these 4?
So my order was Gemini Man, then I
Okay.
went to Spark Man, then I went to Needle Man, and then I went to Shadow Man. But
Okay,
because I just beat Gemini Man, I figured why not just go right back into the level, do it all again.
Yeah. Yeah, Gemini, so I went Shadow Man first and then Gemini and Spark, which I think we did those in the same order, and then Needle. So you did we swapped Needle and Shadow Man.
Yeah. Well, sweet.
So these are pretty tough.
Yeah, these are like harder versions of the levels you've already faced off against.
They're way hard because you have to fight 2 bosses in one level.
Yeah, and a lot of times I really got killed a lot of these bosses. Let's be real, it was difficult.
Oh, there was a couple that I just could not. I got so pissed, and then I had to look them up because I was just dying over and over. Even with rewind and shit, I was like, I can't just rewind 1 second every time I get hit and take forever to go through them. I want to know how to beat these guys, so it was driving me crazy.
But dude, for me, this is when the game tested me. You know what I mean?
Yes.
This is when the game made me hate myself and everyone around me, which was just me at the time. I was home alone, so I could only further hate myself playing this level.
Well, let's just start with
these
Needleman
levels.
Part 2, and then we'll go through the rest. Then we'll do the 2 in order that we did, and then we'll end with Shadow.
Sick dog.
Yeah. Now, we're saying Shadow Man and Needleman. You don't play them at all. Those are just the squares that the levels happen to be on.
Mm-hmm.
You'll find out that you play much different people.
Yeah, totally. It's a revisit of their level design, but that's the only thing that's repetitive here. Needleman's level, in the second time around was much more difficult. Spikes, spikes, spikes. Lots of crushing spikes. Lots of climbing again, and more avoiding of spikes, and then some more spikes.
You have to use Rush Jet, or at least I did. I used Rush Jet and Rush Coil quite a bit in this level. And this is why I don't know if we need to go through like these levels super specifically, because they are just harder versions of the same aesthetic and everything.
Totally.
So maybe we can just kind of go to the bosses that you fight on each level.
Totes. So here in Needleman's level, the first one, what is his actual counterpart in Mega Man 2? Because he fires tornadoes at you.
Yeah, so it doesn't mention that in the game. You're right. I wrote them all down though. So in Needleman, the first boss we encounter is Airman.
Airman's a bitch, and his projectiles, those tornadoes, are also a bitch.
They are a bitch, but I found him more doable than some of the other guys. Some of these other guys, there was a couple that Needleman stage was probably my easiest one.
Yeah.
Of these four.
I gotta say,
some of these bosses.
Quickly, I figured out how to get behind Tornado or Airman. But the problem is, whenever he does this attack, he actually sucks you in. So if you're behind him, you have one square to not get sucked in, which is impossible. So getting behind Airman is a bad idea, just so you know.
Fair. I did not know that. I think part of the reason why I had a easier time than it sounds like you did is that the spark orbs, because again, I was playing with all the different powers. The spark orbs actually crushed him real nice. They took a lot of damage. And so if you would get underneath, because you would throw the tornadoes, the bottom one, if you dodged it, you would just free reign spamming him with the sparks. And so it didn't actually take that long to kill him.
Hell yeah. I probably could have been better, but I was pretty bad at this one. Boss number 2.
Crash Man.
So he sort of like fires bombs at you, I guess. I don't know. How would you... Is that bomby?
Yeah. That sounds about right.
I just used the punch power up, and it was great. Took him out pretty quick.
Yeah, well, again, I mean, all of these bosses, because I had autosave, I was experimenting with every one of the powers. So pretty much every boss for this section of the game, I would eventually find the right power. Some of them I still found exceedingly hard, even once I figured out what their weakness was. But yeah, this guy was weak to the knuckles.
Gotcha.
Hard man.
Well, dude, hard as fuck, man.
Yeah. That's what they called me in college. What?
Gemini Man? Gemini Man 2?
Let's do Gemini Man 2.
Ooh. Okay, so, figured I'd turn right back around and do it again. I'd just be Gemini Man, and then decided to go right back in this level. One thing I wanted to point out, the enemies are slightly different. We don't have to go over the level very much, but there are those cracked tiles where these sort of like crawly spiders come out. And I actually really like these because they crawl up and down the ladders as well. So
that's right.
It's just an interesting aspect of this level I really liked. Wanted to give that a shout out. And one thing I really like too, in these secondary levels, a lot of times you are forced to use Rush's jump power up as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and any notes we have on the levels, let's definitely mention them. Just the levels are aesthetically very similar to the first round.
Indeed.
So then, the boss is Flashman. Flashman.
He just fucking runs at you and shoots. But he's still really tough. What the fuck?
I hated this guy. I thought he was so freaking hard. Yeah. He freezes time, and he sprays you with bullets. Like, I just could not figure out how to not get frozen in a way that I was also just going to get blown up, not blown up, but tagged by his bullets. Like, I struggled mightily with Flashman.
I gotta say, my only trick that I used was I used Rush's springboard to jump over him and get behind him. But that wasn't a super useful tactic. I don't know what the actual technique that people used for this level is, but he hurt me, he hurt my soul, he hurt my resolve. I almost quit after playing him too, so it was tough.
He was very, very hard. One of the things I wish they would have done with the Legacy Collection, because it's on a modern console, is that I wish I could have mapped some of the skills to like the D-pad or the,
Yeah.
one of the joysticks or something like that. It would have been really nice to not have to press start and move around those screens so very much. You know what I mean? Like if I could just have rush coil instantly by just hitting like left on the joystick or something like that, that would have been really nice.
Yeah.
So
Would have been. Could
throwing
have
that
been.
throwing that up to throwing that out to Capcom for their next iteration of an old school Mega Man game.
They should do it.
They should do it. So yeah, there's a lot of water on the second half of this level.
I flew over it using my rush jet.
Yeah, I believe I did too.
Thank you, rush jet. I think you actually have to.
Is this the? Yeah, there was one stage in this section, in the second section here of the game where you like have to fly, and there's constantly giving you like the replenishment.
Yeah.
Lots of rush jetting.
Yeah, I'm not positive if this was where you had to, but that's definitely what I did. It was very useful too. Which brings us back to boss number 2 in this stage.
Bubble Man.
I just called him Bubbles. I didn't know what he was, but that's what I called him. Bubbles.
He had a lot of bubbles. He was spitting bubbles at you.
Now I gotta say, I barely won. This one was difficult, really difficult for me. I had a hard time. This hurt my resolve more than the first one did. It got under my skin. I was very close to rage quitting after this.
That is so funny because this dude was so much nicer. Because once you realize the spark orbs are his weakness, he's like super easy. I think he only hit me one time.
Man, I don't know what I was doing wrong, man, but I wanted to quit. I actually had to walk away. I gave it 30 minutes. I walked away, and then I came back.
It
It
sparks.
was a much different game after that.
You didn't realize the sparks.
I didn't hit him with the sparks. I hated the sparks, though. I always avoided using them. I should have used them more, I realize. So, fuck it, man. That's Mr. Bubbles.
That was Mr. Bubbleman. And then we're on to Sparkman's stage. Yes.
So I gotta say, I used Shadow Man's power up this whole entire stage. It was so much easier than dealing with any other way. You could hit guys through the walls, through the the floors. It made this just so much more enjoyable. Yeah, just wanted to say that.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, like right off the bat, you try to climb a ladder, and there's that freaking bug on it, and you have to use either Shadow Man's shuriken up or Gemini Man's hit the wall and angle it up. It's the only way to get around that bug. And
Indeed.
It is nice because the game at this point really is making you use everything. Like you have to be more thoughtful about how you're using all the powers that you have.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So our first boss here is Metal Man.
Metal Man. I called him Doctor Man because I didn't know what he was, but he looked like a doctor. I don't know why. That's just what I got from him. Yeah, he shoots cogs at you. He also has these, just a super annoying way of getting under my skin and just being hard to dodge and, generally speaking, get around. But I used the homing magnets, and that actually proved to be pretty effective.
Yeah, the magnets are eventually what I got to as well, and that made it much easier because he killed me several times before I figured out the magnets. Them saw blades, they were coming at me hot, man. I couldn't survive. He was chopping into me.
Fuck those saw blades.
Yeah, so the next area between the bosses are like super, super short. This is the ceiling where it's like the things that are on the top and the bottom, and they have the electrical bolts, and then the two blue things will screw together. You know?
Yeah. I did not like those guys either.
Yeah, and then at the very end, you have the garbage blocks.
Yeah. Garbage chute number 2 is what I put down there.
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty short, but yeah, it was challenging.
Boss number 2. Who was he supposed to be?
What did you have written down?
I just said that he shoots weird shit at you. I couldn't even figure out what it was supposed to be. And he won't stop jumping.
He's Quick Man. Yeah, he's Quick Man.
That makes sense because he's
crazy.
He's
jumping so much.
He's Crazy Man to me. I had a little bit of a tough time with him, but I got through eventually.
Yeah, it's so funny when you really struggle, I don't, and when I really struggle, you don't. Because this dude drove me bananas. Bananas, yeah. Micah.
Bananas, bonkers. I wrote down I had a tough time with him, but, he wasn't as difficult as the last couple bosses, which really, got under my skin. Made me angry.
I died a whole bunch. I don't have his weakness written down, so maybe I never realized what it was. But yeah, Quick Man, that ends Spark Man stage, and then we only got one left, which is Shadow Man's.
Yes.
His stage.
So Shadow Man stage number 2. It also has a drop where you can't see the bottom at the beginning. And I put down thank God for rewinds because it's a one-hit kill. But this is where you had that drop with a one-hit kill. I was ready to kill somebody at the end of it, but also, like I said, I rewound, so it was okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, lava flow, weird platform puzzles, more of those dudes that make the screen go black, and boss number 1, who I don't know what his name is. I think he's like a plant man probably, but I called him Leave Me Alone.
Leave Me. Oh, that's good. See, you're getting creative here, Mike. I like that. His actual character is Woodman. They're all something man. You know what I mean? So he's Woodman, and I don't know about you. I fucking hated Woodman. He was destroying me. Woodman murdered me countless times.
This is a case where I put down actually pretty easy.
God damn it. How?
I don't know, because that's the thing. You struggle where I don't, and I struggle where you don't, you know?
The leaves, I couldn't dodge them. He would throw these four leaves would be falling from the top, and then he would throw a leaf circle at you. And I would always hit one of the leaves at the top. You had to have very precision jumping, I guess, and I just was not. Oh, sorry, go for it.
I was going to say, I always really quickly position myself underneath the falling leaves, and then I used that timing to dodge his other leaf coming at me. But I'm not going to lie, he hit me quite a few times, but, overall it did not take me too long to best him. But you were saying, sir.
Well, I was saying that he's weak to needle, and even knowing that, once I figured that out, I still struggled. And this is kind of silly. So in the Mega Man Legacy Collection, you can turn the game from original mode into turbo mode where everything moves faster.
Ouch.
I did not realize until this boss that I had that turned on the entire game.
Whoa.
So that everything was moving way faster, I think it was specifically for the bosses. And when I turned that down, it made Woodman he still kicked my ass a lot, but much, much easier because he was just destroying me and I couldn't figure it out. Like the leaves were falling way too fast, but once I slowed it down, I was like, okay, I can maneuver around this stuff a little bit easier. So that was kind of embarrassing.
Well, Leave Me Alone, man, finally went down. Eventually, took him out. But I think I found boss number 2 so much worse.
I actually have that. He took me a very, very long time. I hated this guy.
How the hell? He throws those 3 fireballs at the very beginning. How the hell are you supposed to dodge those? I literally could not figure out how to do it. I tried sliding, I tried slipping, I tried jumping over the middle one. Everything. I could not dodge it for the fucking life of me.
Yeah, he throws 3 fireballs that cause a fire pillar each one when they land. I could not avoid the first one no matter what I did. I don't even know if it was possible. Because neither of us could avoid it.
I want to know because I couldn't find any way. And I played through the beginning for 10 straight minutes trying to find a way.
His name was Heatman, by the way.
Heatman makes me heated.
There you go.
But yeah, fuck Heatman. I used Top Man Jump because I had to look it up online. I was just getting so mad and hot and bothered about this level. So Top Man, his jump.
Was that his weakness? Was Top Man?
Yep. That was his weakness. It made short work of him when I finally used it. Didn't keep me from getting
that up.
I still got hurt every single time I used that attack, though. I have no clue what I was doing wrong. Hurt me in the soul, Jono. It hurt me in the soul.
I don't know. That guy took me forever, and I didn't use Top Man. So that's the second section of the game, really. The third section of the game is really just a boss rush of all of the bosses. The original 8 bosses in the game.
There's some a couple levels that you go through before then, but they're not difficult levels. They're actually kind of a nice little refresher and like a breath of fresh air after having dealt with all those difficult, original boss that you had to beat. But then coming, through all this stuff, the boss rush part where it's all 8 of them, that was difficult. It really got me heated. It really made me upset. It made me come down with a feeling of defeat.
Yeah, sorry, I actually got ahead of ourselves. The boss rush is at the stage 4 of Dr. Wily's castle. So, after you beat all the Mega Man 2 bosses, you fight Breakman, I think is his name. It's super easy. It's like a little interlude. And then you get zapped up to Dr. Light's laboratory, and he tells you that Dr. Wily has run off with Gamma, the peace protecting robot that you're building, and he's stolen Gamma for evil. And this is then when you go into Dr. Wily's castle, which you pretty much do at every old school Mega Man game. You enter Dr. Wily's turf.
So Breakman, I thought he was just Proto Man, which I was confused about.
I think it is Proto Man. I have Breakman written down. I looked up who he was when I fought him.
Yeah, he said Breakman in the game.
Okay. So then, yeah, I don't know. I thought it was Proto Man too, and he says Breakman, and then later on it says Proto Man. So who fucking knows?
I don't get it.
Maybe there's some lore that we're just not digging here because we don't know Mega Man as much. I don't know.
Probs.
But yeah, so the first of 4 Dr. Wily stages. Let's run through those real quick. Pretty fun stage, the first one. There's lots of like hopping around with Rush Coil, and there's a lot of those green guys who are whipping the metal balls at you, and tons of extra lives and power-ups, because in Dr. Wily's castle, anything you use does not get replenished between stages. This is the first time this will happen. So if you use, like, when you're on the original screen or during the 4 levels where you fight the 2 Mega Man 2 bosses, when you start the level, everything is replenished. All of your power-ups are replenished. Dr. Wily's castle, there's 4 stages and nothing gets replenished between stages. So you have to be a little bit more cognizant. But it kind of loads you up with some extra lives and stuff at the beginning of the first Dr. Wily's castle. And the boss in this stage is pretty funny, the turtle launcher. Mr. Turtle Launcher himself. Turd Launcher.
I enjoyed this stage a lot, because once you use the ninja stars, you can hit up and at angles. So yeah, this actually became fairly easy for me, and it was just fun. It was a fun boss. I liked it.
Yeah, it's very cool. Once you realize that the Shadow Man's shurikens are his weakness, definitely makes it way easier. Basically, it's like one of those claw games at an arcade. He kind of looks like that at the top, floating around, and he's launching live turtles at you. Maybe the robotic turtles. Everything's kind of a robot in this game. But he's launching sweet baby turtles at you. And on the right and left side of the screen and on the bottom of the screen, there's like these little holes that are shooting out like tornadoes at you that you have to dodge. But if you use the shuriken, 1 hit kills the turtles. So once you kill 5 turtles, you have won the day. Once you kill 5 innocent, adorable turtles.
Yeah, I felt a little bit bad about it, but also it was fun to kill them, so.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun to kill those innocent turtles. They start flying at you faster and faster as you murder them.
Indeed.
So yeah, indeed. So then we're on to Dr. Wily's Castle Stage 2. Tell us about that, my man.
Okay, this stage is kind of computer themed. Lots of climbing. This is a good amount of time to your jumping to avoid enemies on the ground that come out and kill you. They're sort of like almost like the piranha plants, and those dank bees make their reappearance here. But you know what? We're much better off to deal with them at this point, because we already understand how to defeat them. So those dang bees didn't get me. Yeah. But also, I just have written down here that there are so many power-ups, and this really scared me.
Yeah. Something's coming because they're giving you a lot of stuff. Yeah, which is a good thing. I mean, we had the advantage of autosaves and rewinds, but if you didn't, you would need those power-ups.
Something came, and this is literally, I almost quit playing this game after this boss. I didn't know if I was going to be able to beat him.
This boss was hard.
Yes, this hurt. This hurt me so much. We're talking about, I don't know what his official name is, but I called him Clayman.
He kind of looks like Clayman. He also kind of looks like the guy on the cover of Earthbound.
Yeah, he does.
His official name is the Yellow Devil.
So what this daggum dingle Yellow Devil does is he will attack you with 3 little blinks of his eye, and then he begins to disassemble himself, and move from one side of the screen to the next. And as he moves, the pieces that are flying to the other side of the screen will hurt you quite a lot, and you have to dodge those. Wait until he reassembles himself. Hit him in the 0.05 seconds he can take damage before he does it all over fucking again.
Yes, he was very hard, but I also thought he was one of the coolest bosses in the game. I thought he was very cool design.
I think it's a cool design, but literally this is when I started to really question, why is this game so hard? and why am I forcing myself to play through it when I could just as easily not? But I'm glad I stuck it out. Don't get me wrong. But this is when I started to get heated and bothered by this game.
Yeah, Mega Man's known for being way too hard. Also, like, we don't have the time to devote to like really master these games like we probably once would have when we were kids. We would have played this game endlessly to learn how everything moves.
Yeah.
But the Yellow Devil does become easier if you realize that Hard Knuckle, the metal fist, that's his weakness. And when you get him in the eye with that, like, you only have to do it like 4 times and he's dead. So if you figured out that that was his weakness, trial and error, you shoot him in the eye with everything, he becomes much easier. And I didn't think it was too hard to dodge his body parts flying across the screen, except for in the very beginning when they come off screen. But once he's in front of you, you really only had to jump if it was the bottom 2. Everything else would just fly over your head.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was very challenging. I don't think I had the rage like you on this guy though.
Oh, he brought out the rage in me.
Did you break a controller?
No, luckily I did not. I could have though.
That's good. All right, well let's stop talking about the Yellow Devil because it's clearly bringing up some bad memories for you, Micah. You're agitated.
I'm so upset. I'm coming down very upset.
Well, let's get you unupset then and get you pumped because we're on Dr. Wily's 3rd stage now, which has, in my opinion, the best music in the game. It's officially titled Dr. Wily Castle 2. So look that up, fans out there. Listen to that song. It's so good. But yeah, walk us through the 3rd stage in Dr. Wily's Castle.
Okay, I just have to say that the Shadow Man stars really shine here because a lot of enemies are standing on platforms above you, which you can take out without having to deal with them whatsoever. It's pretty nice. Also, this time around, I didn't really mind those lights going out as much,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those lights kept going out, but I was just like, fine, because there aren't really even any pits to worry about, so cool times. Those jumper boys, those pole vaulters, I think, making a reappearance, got a little bit old. Then we actually have this section that's sort of like the ice climbers, which I actually kind of enjoyed. There are platforms moving left and right on the screen, and you have to jump on them to be able to jump onto the ones above you. Time your jumps just right to not fall off and die. It's a pretty fun time. I actually really enjoyed that section.
I love that section. I love platforming things like that. So yeah, I enjoyed that too.
Yeah. The boss of the stage I found to be very interesting. It was a cool design.
Yeah, it's like a Mega Man clone where it's 3 layers, 3 tiers, and 3 clones of you will pop out, but only one of them can actually take damage.
Yeah. So it's one of those classic, like in the animes where the guy has the After Effect image thing, and they have to figure out which one to hit. It's like that, But yeah, it's actually pretty difficult to figure out who to hit and get some good hits in before he disappears, while also dodging all the lasers that are flying at you. It took me a minute to get through, but once I did, I enjoyed it, and I felt like it was a worthwhile challenge.
Yeah, it definitely requires a lot of patience on that one. But yeah, I don't think this was not as hard as the Yellow Devil. So
not at all.
Not at all. Cool. And then the next stage, very, very purple. Purple, a couple of the stages in this game are like super, super purple, which I kind of love the color purple.
Yeah.
I think it's a very cool color.
It's definitely cool in this level.
Yeah, for sure. And it's kind of got a cool effect because there's some pipes right in the beginning. And you can actually like walk behind the pipes, which is just a cool little design effect that they didn't really play with too much in the game where like Mega Man goes behind certain objects. I don't know. It was pretty cool design. But yeah, this is another level that's filled with those trash cubes. It kind of harkens back to that. Was that Shadow Man's level before?
Yeah.
And then
we have trash thrower bots at this too, which I don't know if you had trouble with the trash. Dude, I couldn't avoid that. I got hit by every single one at least once.
Yeah, that's what I have. I wrote down the first enemy has these trash cubes firing at you, and they are impossible. They explode and do damage, and they're just like impossible to avoid.
Yep.
Killed me, crushed me.
Yep.
Hated them.
Yes. Same.
And you battle many of them throughout this level, but luckily this level is pretty short, very, very short actually. And then you get to the end, which is the boss rush area, where it's literally like you enter this little capsule and it kind of like teleports you or transports you to this other area. And then there's 8 of these little capsules. And when you walk into them, you fight immediately one of the original 8 bosses in the game. So we don't really need to go through this because they're the same exact bosses that we fought earlier. But you are more equipped now because you have all of the powers in the game. And hopefully at this point, back in the day, especially if you were getting to this point, you would know the major weakness of each enemy. So you would be able to take them out much more easily.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So then we have the end of the game, essentially. The last 2 sequences where we battle the 2 different forms of Wily himself. That wily bastard.
Indeed. Now, I want to point out, you did get a lot of power-ups before you did the 8 boss rushes. Every single one of those extra bosses you had to fight would only give you about a third of your health back after defeating him. By the time you get to Wily, at least by the time I got to Wily, I was almost dead. So I didn't have a lot in the ways of extra power-ups to replenish my health. It was difficult, Bossy boss. The boss of the bosses.
Yeah, it was quite difficult. I mean, I had a lot of energy tanks that I was using them throughout the game, but, with auto-saving everything, I was trying to save those up for the end of the game to see how far I could get through without having to, use saves and stuff. But that's still kind of cheating. It's still definitely cheating in a way.
I wasted all those. I wish I hadn't. I wish I'd been more conservative, but I spent them like crazy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you kind of have to, especially if you're trying to play the game as purely as possible. But yeah, the first battle with Wily, he's in this big robot that has like 2 large needles for each leg. And you actually you can walk underneath him as the legs are very slow. There's a cannon underneath him that you need to destroy. And then once you destroy the cannon, you then need to target like the glass dome where Wily is sitting up top. I just stayed underneath him, used the shurikens, and then he stomped on me and I used an energy tank and I was able to kill him.
Yeah, that's ultimately what I had to do too, actually. I had 1 energy tank left. Yeah, he was very difficult. Yeah. This also almost made me quit the game again. But I got through it, and I'm glad I did. But it turns out this is a fake, and then we fight off against the real boss.
Mr. Gamma, formerly known as the peacekeeping robot turned evil monster gonna destroy and conquer the world robot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's funny, too, because whenever you defeat the first boss, Wily pops out, but it's just a little robot because his head's like on a spring. It's just kind of funny. And then, but when you fight off against the real boss, it sort of looks like a Gundam at first glance. And whenever you manage to do a little bit of damage to the Gundam head, it blows up, and then Wily comes down. Woo! And it's the actual final form of Wily's final boss.
Yeah. And, like, basically they're shooting like a giant, pretty large energy ball at you from the mouth of Gamma. Now, there is a secret. I was just dying so much against the previous Wily boss and this guy. I was just dying a lot, Micah, and I just wanted to beat the game, right? So I looked up how to beat this guy at the very end. Shame on me. And now there's a secret. Did you know you can one-hit kill the last form of Gamma?
Is that by using Top Man's power on his head?
Yes. Yep.
I did. That's what I did, actually.
Wow. And you didn't look that up? You just did it? Good for you.
No,
I looked it up.
I looked up what power to use against him. I didn't look up why or how much damage it did. And I was like, oh, Top Man. Oh, cool. I did it. And then bam.
Well, yeah, that's what I did. I looked up what his weakness was, and then I used it, and I was like, holy shit, that was game over.
Thank God, though, man, because the first boss was difficult. The first half of this boss wasn't too hard, but I died like 4 or 5 times before I figured out before I decided to look it up and then use Top Man's power. So,
yeah. And so that's it, man. We have defeated Dr. Wily once again as Mega Man. And then we have the ending where Proto Man actually saves you because the castle is crumbling and 2 giant trash cubes fall on you and Dr. Wily. And Proto Man comes and saves Mega Man, takes the trash cube off of him and grabs him and runs away and saves the day. And then I think there's the whole like Mega Man running in the forest with the whistle music playing, and then we find out that Proto Man is actually his bigger brother.
Yeah, pretty much. You talk to the doctor who's like, "Oh, you were passed out, but someone took you here. I wonder who it was." And then you hear the whistle, and he's like, "Oh, it was Proto Man." And then you run around in the forest, and that's the end of the game.
Yeah. Mega Man just looks out of place in the forest. I don't know.
Kind of, actually. That's a good point. But if I figured out that my secret doctor's or my doctor owner guy's older robot tried to kill me, but then saved me, I'd probably go run through a forest to feel my feelings.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, does Mega Man have feelings though? Because he's a robot. Dr. Light built him. You
I'm
know?
sure. I'm sure Doctor Light gave him feelings. Otherwise, he'd just be
I like to
mega
think so.
mega robot instead of Mega Man.
That's right. He does have man in the name.
That's just my 2 cents. He's got to have emotions. Man cannot be a robot. That's not real.
Well, let's just go with Mega Man has a soul. Let's go there. That's my final decision.
Yeah, Mega Man does have a soul.
He's
Agreed.
fighting for world peace, man.
Dude, he is the symbol of humanity in robot form.
Okay, so Micah, let's do some summary thoughts and then get into a little PYA and wrap this puppy up.
Hell yeah. So do you want to begin with the summary thoughts?
Well, I love Mega Man, and we already knew this because I chose this one, and I think this is a great Mega Man. I don't know if it's my favorite Mega Man. I honestly think Mega Man 9 is because it just hit me in a right spot. I hadn't played a Mega Man forever when it came out in college. This is a great game, though. Beautifully made. I love the artwork. I love the music. The bosses are super unique. I mean, freaking hard, man. Can't make this shit up, people. That's the name of a boss in a video game. So no, I thought it was a great game. I do think the entire section where you're fighting all of the Mega Man 2 bosses was kind of unnecessary. It just seemed like it was too hard, and the game lasted a little bit longer than I think it should have. But overall, I love Mega Man games. They're super fun. I'll never probably ever beat one ever again, especially without playing with a autosave or something like that. But no, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Actually, I take that back. I definitely will play Mega Man again. I just don't know if I'll beat one to completion again because they're so hard.
Yeah.
What about you, man? I'm more curious to learn about you because you've never played Mega Man before.
All right, as a newcomer to the series, I have to say I found this game to be a little bit too difficult to be enjoyable throughout the whole entirety of the game. There are definitely aspects that I really love to this game, but I think for me, being a little bit newer player, I realized where this game comes from, what this game did for the the series as a whole. But I think I really want to go try a newer Mega Man game and see how I feel about it. You know what I mean? Something newer with save states that I can really give a purist experience to. It's been like 3 weeks trying to just beat one game. I'd give it a shot. I think I'd have a fun time. But yeah, overall, I liked it. Glad I played it. Obviously, this is a classic that's been on my list for a long time. So, happy to hit it up. Maybe it's a little bit too hard for my taste, but overall, I did really enjoy it, though. So, I had a good time with it. And now I can say I beat one.
Cool, man. Well, let's
game.
Yes, exactly. Now, it's kind of one of those series that's legendary in the gaming world. So, you check that box for sure.
That's a box I'm happy to check.
Yeah. All right, man. Why don't you kick us off on the PYA?
Cool. So my first question for you, my good sir, and I hope you're prepared.
I am prepared.
If you were a Mega Boy, a little Mega Man who was built by Dr. Light to do good, and you had a sidekick, what would your sidekick be? What would you choose for your sidekick to be? It could be a dog. It could be an inanimate object. But whatever it is, it's a robotic version of whatever you choose that helps you. What would it be?
That is a good question. I mean, I feel like dog is the obvious answer. But in our Blade Runner MRS episode, I asked if you were gonna make a synthetic animal, what would you choose? And when I answered it, I said panda. So I'm gonna go with panda again, just because I think it'd be hilarious to see this, robotic fighting panda.
Hell yeah,
walking around.
Now, while it is tempting to harken back to that episode and say hyena, I will say that instead I chose a sentient robotic synthesizer that attacks the enemies with music. That would be a super dope sidekick.
That's such a better answer. I chose fucking panda, and you did a sentient synthesizer? That's way better. This is bullshit. Redo.
Okay.
No.
What would you... I mean, Panda would be pretty fun. Let's be real.
Right? Well, now I want a guitar because you play the keys and then I'd play the guitar and then we'd battle each other and see
A
who wins.
sentient flying guitar. Well,
Yeah.
sweet. What's your first question from me, my good sir?
Was Mega Man what you thought it was going to be, and did you like it more or less than you expected?
I think it was what I expected. I think I liked it about as much as I expected I would. I knew it was going to be
Yeah.
hard, broke me at times, perhaps, but I mean, overall, I enjoyed playing through it for sure, and it has whetted my appetite to play another Mega Man game. But I think I'll probably just choose a newer game in the series, something that's
Yeah.
on the SNES or forward next up. So
Yeah. Cool. I got to say, it was a little harder than I expected. I know Mega Mans are hard, but I mean, Jesus Christ, dude. It kept going. It was way
yeah,
longer than I expected.
yeah, it was
Way
definitely
freaking longer.
longer than I was expecting to. I thought I was going to beat the first screen of enemies and then I'd have a final boss fight. So it took me a minute more to get through than I thought it
Yeah.
would.
It dragged on a little long. I thought it was the first 8, and then I thought you got into Wily's Castle for like 4 stages.
Mm.
But it was so much longer than that.
Yeah,
Wow.
a little too long.
It was too long. All right. Your question, sir.
So overall, did you find the difficulty of this game to be enjoyable?
No. It was too much. It was too much, Micah.
I have to say, at times it was too hard to be enjoyable. So I think that if the difficulty had been a little bit lowered, I would have liked it more.
It's just that era, dude. Punch Out was just ridiculous on how hard it was. Like
Totally.
this game, I can at least see how you can learn the patterns and do it. Punch Out was like different level of insanity. I don't think I would. I think I could beat Mega Man. I don't think I could ever beat Punch Out. I really
Yeah.
don't. I think I would lose my freaking mind.
Yeah, I don't
But
know if I could either.
these old games.
Same.
Sorry.
Same. Same.
All right, my question, I guess.
Yes, sir.
Do you think Mega Man deserves the praise that it gets?
I mean, I think that any video game that does something for somebody deserves the praise that it gets. You know what I mean? A lot of people identify this game as one of the first times where they really like had to strive and work hard to get good at something in the video game world, that is. And this sort of, in a lot of ways, was one of the first games that really introduced that sort of like harder, hardcore gamer sort of gameplay. And I feel like you don't really play Mega Man as a casual gamer. You know what I mean? Like casual gamers don't hit on Mega Man. That's why I probably never really played it as a kid, because the first couple times I tried to, it was so insanely hard that I just about wanted to cry. So,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, no, I think it deserves it. If nothing else, for the nostalgic value, the great art, the great music. Gameplay might be a little bit too difficult for my taste, but that doesn't mean it didn't, really deserve to be up there on the list for people. So,
Yeah. Well, I mean, I agree. I think for sure it does. I have always loved Mega Man. It just mixes everything together so well. Like it's a total package of a game because the music's great, the artwork is great. When you compare the art for a lot of the Mega Man games, especially some of the like, I think they have up through 8 on the regular Nintendo. The latter games look amazing. They're some
yeah.
of the best looking games on the console, and really, I love a lot of the music. Some of the best music I think on the NES as well. The gameplay is super tight. Like it plays very well, but I think the difficulty is my biggest gripe. But I think back in the day, they wanted games to be difficult. People wanted a game that you could play a million times and get a little bit further on because you learned the patterns a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I think just in our lives now and what we're used to in games now, the difficulty is just not what we want anymore. Not what people in gaming want anymore.
Yeah.
But I think it deserves it, the praise.
I think we have much more casual players of video games these days. You know what I mean? So I don't know. That's worth thinking about.
Mm-hmm.
So sweet. So that's my question now, right?
I believe it is, sir.
Hell yeah. So, have you played any of the modern Mega Man games? And if so, what are your impressions?
Well, I played Mega Man 9, and if I didn't beat it, I got super far in it. That came out on I think I played on Xbox 360 in college. That was like 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the most modern Mega Man game I've played. So no, I haven't played any the super modern ones. Like Mega Man 11 came out last year or a couple years ago or something. I really do want to play that one.
Yeah. So I was living with this dude at the time that Mega Man 11 came out, who's a really big Mega Man fan. So I played a little bit of that one, and I actually, having beat Mega Man 3 now, I'd be interested in going back to that one because I don't think it was, it was challenging. I think it was a little bit more forgivable, or forgiving, rather.
Mm-hmm.
and it had more options for like restarting from specific areas. You lose your lives, but you just start over from the beginning of that stage. If I remember correctly, I could be wrong there, so don't quote me, Mega Man fans / don't crucify me. This is my first go through in this series. But overall, I think Mega Man 3 was so interesting, but I think doing something a little bit more modern, being a little bit more like having those hardcore aspects of gameplay, but also not making it super difficult to start back where you lost and get through it one way or another.
Yeah.
I think it would make this game a little bit more enjoyable. So yeah, I'm very interested to try out some modern titles.
Yeah, for sure. And that actually is one of my questions. Like, has this inspired you to play any other Mega Man games? And if so, which one do you think will be the next one you want to play?
11, yes, 11.
Yeah, maybe we'll do that in episode, because I really want to play Mega Man X for the show too. Because Mega Man X, that's the Super Nintendo one. I loved it, but I never came close to beating that game.
Yeah.
But I think that would be one that would be really fun, because it's like Mega Man from the NES on steroids. Like, the graphics are so cool, the music's awesome, and it just adds some gameplay mechanics that are like super fun. So I think that would be something to consider too. Maybe you'd want to consider.
Well, dope.
Cool. I actually only have one question, because you already asked one of my other ones too.
Cool.
So how many more do you have?
Just one.
All right, go for it.
Okay, my final question for you. Did this game break you?
At moments, it broke me. That one guy that threw the flames that we both said we couldn't knock it. Like, I was losing my fucking mind on that guy. There was a couple bosses that really drove me insane. But the thing is, like, we had rewind and we had autosave. So like when I was really losing it, I abused that. I tried to use those things as little as possible, but I mean,
yeah,
I didn't want to get so mad that I wanted to like stop playing. So I would just say, screw it. I need to get by this,
Yeah. It was my pride that made me stick it through. I think, yeah, definitely a couple times this game broke me, and I'm glad I got through with it. But damn, it was hard, and particularly being on like a bit of time crunch to prepare for the episode. If I had the ability to step away from this and come back to it, I may just step away and never come back to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, I mean, overall, I'm glad that we stuck it out and did it. But yeah, there were a couple times when I was like very close to quitting.
Yeah, I think I just have no pride, and I didn't care that if I had to cheat it sometimes. And you really wanted to like get the perfect, playthrough. So
didn't even come close, personally.
Yeah. My last question was a pretty simple one. What was your favorite boss in the game?
Oh,
and you can make it like the boss like total package, stage and boss.
I think I like Steak Man because he was just very predictable. But, to be totally honest, though, I think my favorite boss, not the doppelgangers, it was probably the frog boss. And that level before, stage 1 of the castle.
Oh, the turtle boss.
That's what I meant, yes. Because, in all honesty, though, it wasn't difficult, but it was fun. It was inventive. It was just different than anything you played up to that point, and it was rewarding to beat. So, I actually did have one last question I forgot to ask you. But after your answer, what was yours?
I had Snake Man. I think that level had some of the best music in the game, one of the top 3 tracks. I really loved the scaly, super green design of the level, and then I liked how you kind of climbed into the clouds and had a very different second half of the level than what you had the first half. So I want Snake Man.
Hell yeah. My only last question, the one I forgot to ask earlier, which was actually my third question, which I skipped over by mistake. What power-up did you like the most?
Ooh, probably the shuriken. I just felt it was very, very useful. It didn't wear out really quickly. Like the magnets, they wore out really, really quick. Yeah. So you were a little bit more hesitant to like spam them a lot. But the shurikens, you could just fire those bad boys around, and they stuck around a little bit longer.
Hell yeah. Same answer for me.
All right. Cool, man. Well, pretty long episode. A lot of it's because we had some technical issues and everything. But hey, we made it through. And really did a deep dive into Mega Man 3.
Hell yeah. It was quite a treat. Definitely hard, but worth playing if you want to go back and play this classic title. Highly recommend it. Just get ready to be hurt.
Yes, it will hurt you deep inside. All right. Well, later.
High fives all around. Bye. Hey, cool people. we just wanted to say a quick thank you for listening. If you like what we're doing with this podcast, spread the word.
And if you'd like to support future episodes, we've launched a Patreon. Head over to MediumRetro.com or search for us on Patreon.com to become a fan of our show. Your support is much appreciated.
Also, follow us on Twitter and Twitch at MediumRetro and at Instagram at MediumRetro Podcast. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.